This episode of the Grand Rising Show was brought to you by Autochthonous Assembly, where the real work gets done. Autochthonous Assembly is a gathering of the minds that do the work. Now, for many of our first-time subscribers and first-time visitors, you may be wondering who Autochthonous Assembly are. You can find this information about our mission statement and our core values on the website at autochthonousassembly.com/about. We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to raising up Indigenous American voices by using genealogy, also known as family history, or your family tree, which is the study of families and the tracing of their lineages and history. Genealogists use oral interviews, historical records, genetic analysis, and other records to obtain information about a family and to demonstrate kinship and pedigrees of its members. Our core values are the foundation of our company, which is essential to our success and serve as a lens through which we evaluate every business decision. Those core values are, but are not limited to, integrity, which is knowing and doing what is right; respect, which is treating others the way you want to be treated; responsibility, which is embracing opportunities to contribute; and servant leadership, which is serving the common good. Now, at Autochthonous Assembly, we have a couple of goals here. And our first goal and foremost of the reason why we do everything that we do is to ensure that we help you do your genealogy and connect back to your tribe and find out where you are from. Everything that we do from the standpoint of the Grand Rising Show and all the information that's posted on the website is dedicated to that one specific purpose: helping you find your genealogy, find your relatives, find your family so that you will know exactly who you are. And if you choose to, tie back into your tribe, whether that tribe is a Native American tribe, an American Indian tribe, whether it's allowing you to determine which house in Africa that you belong to, or what clan of Scandinavia or Europe or France that you belong to. Either way, our goal is to do just that: help you find out who you are so you know exactly where to start. We are not here to tell you who you are, and we're not here to tell you who you are not. We're just here to help you discover your beginnings. Another one of our missions is to help you become financially independent so that you can help your generations for the next 7 generations and be able to put a stable foundation for you and your relatives. And if you should choose to use this information that we provide free of charge to help not only yourself, but your community and your tribe, then we will do everything in our power to make sure that gets done as well. And remember, our goal here is to make sure that we help you get exposed to this information to put you in the best situation possible. So now what I'm going to do now is return it back over to the panel to see if there was anything I missed, and I will go ahead and get set up so we can get ready and get digging into this information. Panel, take it away.
Warning, warning, warning. Hard hats, pickaxe, shovels, boots required.
Grand Rising, everyone. Grand Rising, everyone. Hopefully, everyone's doing well this rising. It's good to see everybody in here. Good to see everybody is enjoying their Friday, because I know I am. How's everyone's doing?
Good for you. Grand Rising.
Grand Rising, Gabrielle.
Grand Rising, everyone. Peace,
Grand,
peace.
Grand Rising, Sir Bones. Everybody had a good day yesterday?
Depends on what the definition of good day is.
Never mind. So look, I see we have T Tiny Ofo already logged in and ready to go. We have Queen Copper in here logged in, ready to go. So Grand Rising, peace and shout out to y'all. I know yesterday we had some technical difficulties, and that was my fault. So my apologies for that. I want to say peace and shout outs and Grand Rising to those newly registered people to the website. When you get a chance, check out the forum and peruse around and access the the information that we have, and any information that you choose to add, please do so. Know and understand that content is yours, and we will not be sharing it without your consent. Also, Grand Rising, peace and shout out to the new subscribers to the YouTube Cab Grand Rising YouTube channel. So we thank you for doing that. Understanding that you could have chosen to subscribe and spend your time with anybody else, but you choose to spend it with us when we post on YouTube. So thank you for that. And of course, to the best chat on planet Earth, and to the silent majority, I want to say peace. Hope everyone's in bliss, perfect health, and working towards sustaining perfect wealth. So, Grand Rising and peace, Mr. TJ. I see people are starting to come in now. So, Grand Rising, Michael Harris, Brown Cheek. So, everybody good?
Yep.
Everybody quiet this.
Getting settled all the way in.
Say again, are you getting settled all the way in? Yeah, you have to. It takes a little bit of reorganizing and re-getting accumulated after you had the relatives over. You good over there, Gabby?
Why, yes, TMH, I am. Are you good over there?
I am phenomenal.
Phenomenal, TMH. That's the.
My son, hold on. Okay. I was looking at some of the issues people were having yesterday.
Ooh, you broke it again.
Bones, did you ever figure out why people weren't able to see the stream from yesterday live?
No, everything checked out okay. It's just when it came out to showing on everybody in, it was broken up, distorted. Could have been a high day with everybody using bandwidth.
But that's, yeah. I mean, that's possible.
Yeah, it's a maybe.
But here's the
Kind
thing.
of slight, but maybe.
Yeah, but here's the thing
Well,
I find interesting. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gabrielle.
no, I was just gonna say. Well, nope. Go ahead. I have nothing to say.
I was
I
going.
just gonna talk. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Keep
No,
on
go
it.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Never mind.
I was saying it's interesting considering, and this goes back to the analog and digital that Bones always talks about. And Gabby, I know you know a lot about this because IT is one of your levels of expertise as well. In the days of analog, when you had that dial-up, you never lost a signal, you never dropped anything, but you had this high bill. But now that we've gone to digital, it's like, I don't know. I mean, I know, but it's just annoying. Cause I know that's just crazy.
I'll
Analog
never remember that rotary phone hanging up on somebody.
dude, I'm just talking about from the standpoint of analog internet, analog phone service. Remember
Well,
when you had roaming and you had to pay by the minute?
Everybody had to wait until 5 o'clock to not hit the
Right, cause
had
shit.
unlimited
Yep,
minutes.
yep.
Look, call me after 5.
But it was like I never dropped a call. I can remember going to see one of my what was it? What do you call it? School hometown best friends when he was in the military. I drove all the way from Hampton to Annapolis. Never dropped a signal. And that phone bill was like $500, but I never dropped a signal. And now you dropping signals left and right, and you got better equipment. Yes, Queen Copper, digital is annoying, and so I say all that to say that it's just amazing to me how the more technology we get, the more jacked up it is. So let me get off my soapbox. He's about to say something, Gabrielle.
No, I was just gonna say you can still, which interesting enough. The only reason why I know this is because I asked. Like I had an argument, and they had to escalate me up their chain of command. With you actually haven't. You can actually request, like, say if you're getting cable put in your house, right? You can actually request that they not put the coaxial cables in that specifically for not the coaxial cables, the was it fiber optic cable lines that they put in for digital. You can actually request that they put the cable lines in for analog. They don't like to do it, but I mean, it's just you can request things like that. It's not like it's done away with.
Oh no, because
Yeah,
the government still
they
uses.
don't have to. Yeah, they don't have to honor it because of the digital bill. They don't have to honor it. The government switched it to where digital is what's in everybody's house. You can ask them all day. Now, because of that, they don't have to put it in. They can still put the coax.
Yeah.
It still doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah, I still got a cell phone, and I will not get rid of it. The Sprint has not Sprint, AT&T has asked me to upgrade it left and right. I will not. It's like a $20 a month bill, but I will not get rid of it.
Man, made me want to go get a jitterbug phone. Stop playing. I'm just saying. I do. Still waiting for people to come in so we can give them shout outs. But so yeah, I've pulled up a lot of slideshows for the Aztec and Cortez. So you're gonna be start seeing some multiple versions of slideshows. throughout the show. Again, consider the source, understand what the narrative that they're trying to paint, and just get the facts out. Understand the timelines and things like that, and everything will be fine. Because some of the slideshows are going to say that, one of the theories is they came across the Bering Strait. The other theory is that they came from the Indians came from the Pacific. But one of the theories is never going to be that they were here first. So as long as we get past that and we understand that, we'll be fine. Go ahead, Gabrielle.
I'm sorry, I had a flood of thoughts that came at once. Interesting. The more I dive, search, I'm finding more documentation, so to speak, that regardless of what theories or suggestive theories are presented, I'm finding, I guess it's the further back I go on the information that I'm looking for, it still breaks down to that, even though they're saying, okay, we don't know how everyone got here, pre-Columbian, pre-colonization, pre-Columbian, right?
I think I
know it's pre-colonization. I'm not sure if it's pre-Columbian, because for some reason I'm seeing pre-Columbian and British Columbia is tied together, if that makes sense. But it still breaks down to there was a swarm of people across the landmass that even if you can't or won't give the telling of how they were here or why they were here, they were still here way before colonization.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the term too. I don't know if I forgot what it is. While I'm trying to figure that out, Grand Rising and peace, Powhatan, Power to 9, and Grand Rising and peace, Big Nelsa. Hopefully all is doing well this for Friday. Grand Rising, no sellout. Glad you were able to come on in. You're always welcome. It's good to know that you're here. You and your troublemaking cousin, double triple cousin. That's what we're gonna start calling Gabrielle.
You want to jump? No. Okay.
Huh? What happened? Okay, no sellout must be on the road doing something. So we're gonna be talking about. There you go. We're gonna be talking. Really.
Peace, y'all.
That's
Mic check.
That's what I.
Mic check.
I get. That's what I get. If I'd have just left you alone, we wouldn't be having this problem right now. But no.
Yeah, I'm well enough. Should have left it alone.
I deserve all that. Every last bit of it. It's my fault.
Come on, man. It's Friday.
And you're absolutely right, sir. It is Friday. And I should have known better. But did I listen? No.
Ain't nobody introduced you to better, yo. Okay, my bad. Should have. Grand Rising, Gabrielle.
Grand Rising, double cousin.
Peace. What's up, CMH?
Why you coppering yourself like that? I mean, it's bad.
What's up, TMH?
What's going on, man? So.
Peace, Copper. Peace, Carrie. Peace, James.
Look, I guess people are a little shy with coming in because yesterday they weren't able to get in, so people trickling in. Well, we ain't gonna wait for people. We just gonna get rolling.
Rolling, rolling, rolling.
Catch us on the replay.
This is what we doing. Okay.
What are we doing, TMH the train?
What is we doing? Is this a group project? Or did you ask for instructions? Is this what we doing? Is this what we doing? It's a group project. I feel like every time he says this is what we doing, I'm like, I feel like I used to feel, but that's what I used to ask. Is this what we doing? This one right here? Okay. You just asked that. Grand Rising, y'all. Peace of chat.
I deserve all this.
The ones that's up in here. Peace, y'all.
Alright, so let's go ahead and hit this clock and we gonna get started.
Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. That sounds like Thomas the Train leaving the station.
All over the daggone soundbite. Just
All aboard.
It's all over the soundbite. Just no regard for the soundbite.
Man,
What's
she
up?
she just dissed the whole soundbite. Now we gotta find another one that don't sound like Thomas the Train. Thank you, Gabrielle. Now that's all I can hear.
Well, good for me. I never watched Thomas the Train, so I ain't gotta worry about it being in my head.
Hey, if you got an imagination, you should be ruined as well.
Yes.
Huh?
Absolutely.
Grand Rising, Two Fishes. Glad to see you in the chat.
Doodle Vision. Okay, Copper. Queen Copper says pre-Mesoamerican.
Yeah, that sounds. We could do that.
Meso.
I can work with that.
I can work with that. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put the link in the chat so plug 1 and plug 2 can read.
Plug. That sounds like you might read one day.
What? I read every day.
I read last night.
I read every day. I read every day.
You want me to go ahead and read? Because I'll read.
Is that a threat?
No, I'm good night. I'm trying to be accommodating. And she like, is that a threat? Is that a threat? No. I'm trying to be accommodating.
He was holding piano keys up over his head as if to wish that he was threatened. That was
I'm not using the keyboard as a weapon.
I was just saying, what's going on? Is that a threat? You said it like it was a threat. I can read. I can read.
I mean,
don't do me no favors.
What you say? What you say, Gabrielle? I'm on the other side of that tone.
Yes. I am on the other side of that tone.
I'm going on mute.
You see how you start stuff and then you're gonna go on mute.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Let's get it started in here.
Yes, it didn't get started. It's been started.
Friday, yo.
Exactly. So, yeah, I put some ones in the chat if our vocals are coming in clear. Let me know if I'm louder than anybody else because I feel like I am. So, I want to adjust my mic. Don't want to be talking over anybody.
Shout out to the chat, aka the buff room, aka the gym.
Really?
We good today, right? We're not buffering though, right?
Mm-mm.
Good.
We Gucci. Yeah, we good today. No surprises, no internet disappearing acts on my end, so I'm here. So yeah, man. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Powhatan. Thank you, Copper Queen or Queen Copper. Phoenix Rose. I'm gonna ask you one more time. I don't need no ones when I ask for ones because you're on the panel and you can hear us.
I don't understand the problem. I'm also on the website and I'm also on my phone.
And of course, Bones comes off of mute just to laugh at that.
I'm contributing my assistance with audio information.
Thank you. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Why, thank you, Thomas the Train.
TMH.
TMH the Train. Come on, ride the train. You can ride it. No.
No. Not even a little bit. All right.
Powhatan 9 says you asked for it, TMH.
I have to agree with that. I did ask for it, but you know what I'm asking for now?
The first step to recovery is admitting you have a problem.
Yep, and my problem right now is you're not reading.
Oh, I'm supposed to read right now? Like right now?
That would be preferable.
So we got preferences on reading right now, right? Okay. Okay. Cortez's expedition. That is where we're at, correct?
Revoking the commission. You read Cortez's expedition and everything about that yesterday.
Right, but we're in that section, right?
Yes. Under revoking the commission.
Okay. Velasquez himself must have been keenly aware that whoever conquered the mainland or Spain would gain fame. That's bars. Glory and fortune to eclipse anything that could be achieved in Cuba. Thus, as the preparation for departure drew to a close, the governor became suspicious that Cortez would be disloyal to him and tried to commandeer the expedition for his own purposes, namely to establish himself as governor of the colony, independent of Velasquez's control.
Stop. It says Velasquez himself must have been keenly aware that whoever conquered the mainland for Spain, and that mainland would have been what, the southern part of the Americas, would gain fame, glory, and fortune. Here's my thing. If this is the new world, who knows about it?
No one.
So why would you gain fame and glory for conquering something where there's not supposed to be anybody there? It's like finding an island with nobody on it. Who cares if you find some empty land?
But if you find an island with nobody on it, wouldn't you get the credit of finding something?
Well, no, because there is no glory in finding something. As a king or a ruler, you want to conquer something. See, this is all about conquest. You get your stripes by basically taking somebody's stuff and ruling them. You gotta realize this time it's a situation of population and taxation. Think about this. If you, well, we call it taxes. They call it paying tribute. The goal, in addition to spreading Christianity, was to get more tribute paid to the king. And those who did that got fame and glory. If there is, according to the way that they break this down, there weren't that many Indians on the island. There weren't that many Indians on the mainland. So conquering a handful of people is not going to get you a lot of tax money. So why would you have fame and glory for that? Unless you were conquering a civilization that they already knew about. And that's the reason why I brought that up, because history is being passed off as if when they came here, this place was either sparsely populated or had no population at all. But here it talks about he would gain fame, glory, and fortune to eclipse that could be achieved in Cuba. Again, there's only supposed to be a handful of people that even know about the Americas right now, because it was found by, quote unquote, air quotes, accident. So if it was found by accident, there was no internet to spread this. It takes 3 months to get information back and forth across doing a ship, and there were also wars going on at this time. So who would know? Does that make sense? So I'm just saying. And when you go to a land, it's like when you buy property that has no plumbing, no sanitation, no nothing. You have to bring all your resources over to that land to make it work. Whereas taking over resources that somebody has already had. That's where the real conquest lies. That's how those Franks think. Now if I'm saying something, let me know. That's right, Queen Copper, they already knew. The Americas was the old world. They knew about it already. And whoever conquered that new world was going to be, or that old world was going to be famous and popular. That's why that statement was made. And that's why I'm pointing to it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you got the governor, since the governor became suspicious of Cortez, would be disloyal to him to try to commandeer the expedition for his own purposes, namely to establish himself as a governor of the colony, independent of Velasquez's control. So, why would Cortez be able to have independence from a colony if everything needs to come from the Iberian Peninsula or the places they know as Spain? If there wasn't already a civilization there with the resource that could sustain itself. Does that make sense, or am I overthinking?
No, it makes sense.
Queen Copper says the church knew. Lily? Excuse me, Gabrielle?
You would tell that they knew. Why would the colonies be formed by independent private companies if people didn't know? More than just the churches knew.
Right.
People had goods from the Americas for years in foreign countries. The world knew.
Exactly. And that's the reason why I wanted to point that out, because on one hand, they make it seem like this land was barren, it wasn't being used, no one could see or utilize the resources. And even in one of those letters that was read, I think it was Monday or Friday, where he says, even if I try to explain, it will pale in comparison because you'd have to see it to believe it. Now, here's my thing. You've seen one jungle, you done seen it all. And normally when you go looking for resources in an island that's uninhabited, you don't know what you got. Yeah, you see a lot of trees, but the only way you would know the resources is the civilization that's living there and how they're using it. That's how you would be in awe. That's how you would know that these people have something that you want to take.
If it's just an uninhabited, untamed jungle, ain't nobody getting excited about that. Because one, you got to go clear it, then you got to go dig it up, then you got to go find stuff. That's work. And I don't know if y'all know this, but they ain't too keen on working. They want to conquer and take over some stuff. Working? Nah, they ain't what they're about. That's why they turn people into indentured servants, because they didn't want to do the work. But I digress. So Gabrielle, can you please read the next paragraph?
Well, I got a question.
What's up?
Please. So you know the map that it's showing on the side of the paragraph? How were they able to know to map out the extent of land, where the land ended, when it met water, like come up with these maps to map out where they were going, what routes they would have to take? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
1519 and 1521.
Again, these maps were laid out. A lot of maps came from my understanding, a lot of maps came from the Ottoman Empire. A lot of maps came from the Indians themselves. They knew how to map their lands. They knew where everything was. So again, these maps came about because you already had people trading from over here in the Americas going to the other islands. I mean, to the other continents. That's called Europe.
Right.
So they charted those maps. Now, how they charted those maps, that I do not know. But I'm sure there is, somebody, some Indians know. Some Indian somewhere knows how it was done.
All right.
And I'm sure the Mayan culture knew how to map the roads and the waterways the same way they mapped their trails. So, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Therefore, Velasquez sent Luis de Medina with orders to replace Cortez. However, Cortez's brother-in-law allegedly had Medina intercepted and killed. The papers that Medina had been carrying were sent to Cortez. Thus warned, Cortez accelerated the organization and preparation of his expedition. Velasquez arrived at the dock in Santiago de Cuba in person. He and Cortez again embraced with a great exchange of compliments. Before Cortez set sail for Trinidad, Cuba, Velasquez sent orders for the fleet to be held and Cortez taken prisoner. Nevertheless, Cortez set sail, beginning his expedition with the legal status of a mutineer.
Stop. The legal status of a mutineer. So, what is a mutineer? Let me pull it up.
It's a criminal conspiracy. Mutiny is a criminal conspiracy among a group of people to openly oppose, change, or overthrow a lawful authority to which they are subject. Oh, man. The term is commonly used for a rebellion among members of the military against their superior officers, but it can also occasionally refer to any type of rebellion against lawful authority or governances. During the Age of Discovery, mutiny particularly meant open rebellion against a ship's captain. This occurred, for example, during Ferdinand Magellan's journey around,
But I think Magellan's, yeah.
My bad. Ferdinand Magellan's journey around the world, resulting in the killing of one mutineer, the execution of another, and the marooning of others. On Henry Hudson's discovery, resulting in Hudson and others being set adrift in a boat, and the notorious mutiny on the Bounty. What's the age of discovery? The age of discovery, or the age of exploration, is an informal and loosely defined term for the period in European history in which extensive overseas explorations emerged as a powerful factor in European culture, and which was the beginning of globalization.
Sound like your first wannabe sovereigns to me.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah, for real.
I ain't the one that gossip, but you ain't heard that from.
Dude, you sound like Optimus Prime had you in a headlock.
From the line down under.
Interesting enough, the people who were behind the whole beginning of the whole sovereign citizen movement, it actually started in Europe, specifically what is considered to be Great Britain now. It started there.
A mutiny.
Right. And those group of people actually, they went on ships and they came to the Americas. And they started that in the late 1600s, came to the Americas in the 1700s. I'm just saying.
Well, it lets you know where the roots of it come from. It comes from dealing with boat captains and people want to overthrow and take power. I don't got to listen to you. That's admiralty law.
Just.
Grand rising in peace, Big Hawk. Alright, so can we go back to the original thing?
Okay.
Because I hear you clicking. I click with you.
You don't hear clicking.
We went with you on the first two clicks, and then I heard some more clicking. I'm
what
like,
two clicks? It was only one click.
Okay, now I'm on the other end of that tone. How about that?
Okay.
The thing that I wanted to cover right quick was that these double dealing dudes, man, this is where some of the individuals that we come across that look like us, that really are descendants, that have that European, that Frank blood in them, front blood in them. They smile in your face all the while they want to take your place.
Backstabbers.
So they act like everything's cool, but at the same time, they doing stuff on the other hand to remove you. These dudes, these dudes embraced, and then he gonna say, "Yo, take him." Why you just take him when you was right there in front of his face? Cowards, man. People do cowardly stuff. That's just, yeah.
Cowardly the lion.
Grand Rising Celestial Love. Where was I? Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. So Velasquez wanted Cortez detained, but for whatever reason he was not. So now he's considered a mutineer. I bet you when Velasquez got out that boat and he saw Cortez, he was like, "Oh, hey, how you doing? It's good to see you. You supposed to be dead."
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Can you would you, not can you, because I know you can. Would you read the next paragraph, please?
Yes, I can. Okay, Cortez's contingent consisted of 11 ships carrying about 630 men. including 30 crossbowmen and 12 braziers.
Arquebusiers. Let's see what that is.
Derived from the German word Hakenbusch, was a form of long gun that appeared in Europe and the Ottoman Empire during the 15th century. Although the term arquebus was applied to many different forms of the firearms from the 15th to the 17th century, it originally referred to a hand
gun.
Okay.
Basically telling you handguns are older than they ever wanted you to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, with a hook-like projection or lug on its undersurface, useful for steadying it against battlements or other objects when firing. These hook guns were in the earliest forms defensive weapons mounted on German city walls in the early 1400s. The addition of a shoulder stock, priming pan, and a matchlock mechanism in the late 15th century turned the arquebus.
It's either arquebus or arquebus.
Arquebus. Arquebus. Into a handheld firearm, and also the first firearm equipped with a trigger. The exact dating of the matchlock appearance is disputed. It could have appeared in the Ottoman Empire as early as 1465 and in Europe as little before 1475. The heavy arquebus, known as the musket, was developed to better penetrate plate armor and appear in Europe in around 1521. A standardized arquebus, the cavalier, was introduced in the later half of the 16th century. The name cavalier is derived from the English corruption of calibre, which is a reference to the gun's standardized bore. The cavalier,
No, I was disagreeing with what you said.
Oh.
I remember from a class.
The cavalier allowed troops to load bullets faster since they fit their guns more easily, whereas before soldiers often had to modify their bullets into suitable fits, or were even forced to make their own prior to battle. The smooth-bore matchlock arquebus is considered the forerunner to the rifle and other long gun firearms. Heavy arquebuses mounted on wagons were called arquebus a crock. These carried a lead ball or about 3.5 ounces. Curious. I'm trying to figure out if this was around, and I'm saying if, not to say that it's not true, but being this article is saying that it was around in Germany in the 1400s. Europe didn't get it until 1475. Christopher Columbus didn't set sail until 1492.
Well, he couldn't have set sail in 1492 under the Spanish, but go ahead.
Well, I mean, I get that, but you know.
I'm saying I haven't seen any records from the Ottoman Empire suggesting that there was a Christopher Columbus. But
it's just interesting how all this is, you know, Ottoman Empire, German, Ottoman Empire, Spanish, Ottoman Empire. You know what I mean?
All of them are Francs.
Ooh. Okay, I'm just kidding. Never mind.
To be frank, all of them are Francs. Pun intended.
Okay. All this technology
Again,
that happened before the 1800s.
They were dealing with us, and they knew about us a lot longer than the 1400s. And all this information is doing is raising more questions than anything else. At least for me.
Yes, TMH, you're absolutely correct.
So they had 30 crossbowmen and 12 arquebusiers.
So they only had 12 of these guns, is what I'm hearing.
Well, those guns were expensive, and you got to realize they were, again, all this was going on during wars. They were warring with each other in Europe. So it's not like they had a lot of weapons and manpower to just be sending people looking for stuff.
Remember, Crusades don't technically end. The Crusades don't end until mid 1500s.
Okay.
After the Reconquista. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they have all this stuff going on. Like TMA said, they've been fighting each other already.
Right. Interesting. All right, including 30 crossbows and 12 arquebusiers, an early form of a firearm, a doctor, several carpenters, at least 8 women. Okay. A few hundred Arawaks from Cuba and some Africans, both freedmen and slaves.
Now stop right there.
Okay.
Because they say a few hundred Arawaks. So that means already this time period they're already bringing on Indians.
Right.
And okay, and then according to this narrative, they had some Africans. We know those Africans were from North Africa. Tangiers and Algiers, right? Berbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is both freedmen and slaves. Now, here's the thing that we got to take into account. You had a whole tribe of Indians called slave. Had they already come in contact with these people? Or is this term right here that they're using a term that they slid in there? Because at this time, remember, the word slave didn't exist. It was Slav.
Yeah, that slid in because they're talking about the Berbers. The only people the Spanish would have with them would be Berbers, the people that was living in the Iberian Peninsula before they changed the name.
Right.
Where else did their population come from?
That's why when we see inconsistencies or things that's not accurate, we need to point them out because they're trying to give you a mind frame of quote unquote our ancestors being from these slaves that were from West Africa. But West Africa was still riddled with malaria, and the Europeans hadn't colonized that part of Africa yet, not until late 1800s, after 1885, when malaria when there was a cure for it or a vaccine for it.
So it says a few hundred Arawaks. So it says 11 ships, 630 men. Okay. 30 of those men used crossbows. 12 of those men used the guns.
So I would say that those crossbowmen were the Arawaks. They used it. They fought with arrows. I could be wrong.
But that only accounts for 30 of the Arawaks.
The majority of the people that came were carpenters.
Gotcha.
If you're going to a land, the first thing you have to do, you need shelter. So the one thing that you're going to have more than anybody else when you show up someplace is builders.
Right.
If not, you ain't going to make it.
And also, too, the Arawaks, as they're described by these Europeans, are nothing more than the Caribbean Indians that left the mainland and went to those islands. So all they're doing is just coming back home. So they already know the terrain. And if you
And
think
they
about it, go ahead, Bones.
They also picked up some Toltec that way too after they got banned to the islands. See, people got to remember everything that happened and see how the mix-up started happening again. You had certain people that were separated, that were purposely separated from other Indians. You have colonization that's putting certain Indians back around certain Indians, mixing everything back up.
Right.
Remember, everybody on the islands is an Arawak. Oh no. Remember, some of them are the ancestors that rode with Cortez.
Right.
But they're being classified as Arawak because that's what Europeans do. They throw everybody in one classification.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Remember, the Great Harlot was an Indian.
Yep.
Remember, them people got kicked off to the islands, mixing in with other Indians. They was able to get slavery, their form of work, slavery, down pack on these islands. I wonder why. But when you got Indians that you working with, let me hush.
No, let's stop talking.
Did she tell you to hush your mouth and keep on talking? What?
No, I told him to talk.
We know all skin folk ain't kinfolk, relatives. All we have to do is start filling in the blanks, and you can see how this happened. You had a group of Indians pushed off, banished to the islands.
Right.
These Europeans, when they came, what did they get in contact with first? The mainland or the islands?
The islands.
So, who would they run across? They would run across the enemies of the mainland Indians. Play the picture out now. I come across your enemy. Me and your enemy, we click up. We gonna click up to do what?
My enemy of my enemy is my friend.
But we clicking up to do what? Not to assimilate, to come take over.
Right.
It takes an Indian to get over on another Indian.
Right.
And it's still being done today because a lot of Jamaicans are coming over here using that sovereign citizen stuff. It's real talk. They've always been the ones that turned on people in the mainland. They turned on their own islanders. They still out to the queen. Am I wrong, boss?
Because all of them are not Arawak or Taínos. Some of them are descendants of the Toltec. Let's not get this twisted. Some of them have always worked with the colonizer and still do to this day. And when we say work with, we mean they on the same side. They wear the same color uniform, y'all.
Remember when we did that history about the islands trying to get together to get independence, and then all of a sudden Jamaica changed its mind and didn't want to do it?
Yeah. Jamaica broke the union that the islands could have had, their own independent union outside of any of these foreign nations. Jamaica turned their back and gave up the other islands. I mean, it's nothing personal. This is history. This is recorded fact. That's why genealogy is key. Everybody who looks like you again is not you. Genealogy is key. Some people doing what they supposed to be doing because they working. They belong to the other team.
Right.
I mean, not to be funny. What would you expect them to do? That's why it's that important to know who you are. Know who the people are around you.
And we're not saying that everybody that's Jamaican is a traitor, so don't go spreading that narrative, please.
I mean, but it makes, okay, not that part. I agree with you, TMH, like not that part, but it would make sense, like really understanding who was who. And who's who now, to understand what you're dealing with, what's going on. And I mean, it to me, it really lines up and makes more sense with the whole sovereign citizen group movement thing. It just makes more sense because it's the same thing over and over again. Same type of infiltration, same type of takeover. History constantly repeated itself. It's the same thing, just in a different form, if that makes sense. No?
No, you right. That's
well, I'm not necessarily trying to be right. I just want to, my way of thinking on that, or like putting it together, is it correct to think like that?
Yeah,
that makes sense?
yeah, it is correct to think like that. That's the reason why I say if you're going to do your genealogy, the whole purpose of doing your genealogy, and the reason why you need to know what tribe you come from, and this is the reason why we say know what tribe you come from, and this is the reason why it's important. And James been putting something in the chat, so I'm gonna read it after I make this comment.
Wait, say that again.
James been putting stuff in the chat, so I'll read what he's been putting in the chat after I make this comment. And James Doodle Vision said something that was important. He said his ancestors told him who his enemies were because they knew who their enemies were. So now that you know who your enemies are and you know who your friends are based off of who your ancestors were, based off of their actions today, you can determine whether they're still your enemies. And you can determine based on their actions today whether those friends that were your friends then are still your friends. But you don't know where to start if you don't know who you are. And when we talk about finding out who you are, we're not talking about tying back to your tribe. It's not about tying back to your tribe. It's about knowing who you are, knowing what your role was, and knowing why you automatically clash or link to certain people. A lot of this is tied into our DNA as a people. There's just certain people that we're going to vibe with, and there's just certain people we're not, and it has a lot to do with our ancestors. That's just my personal opinion.
No, that makes sense, because it's been plenty of times like I didn't know someone and they didn't do nothing wrong to me, didn't say nothing wrong to me, but I was just like, I don't know what it is, but I don't like them and I don't want to be around them. I can't figure it out. And they were kind, they were nice. I just couldn't figure it out. And I'm just saying, for me, that makes sense.
Grand Rising EJ Coppertone. See if there's anything that I need to post. Doodle Vision says Jamaica Funk. Okay, just want to make sure I ain't missed nothing. Oh yeah, EJ Coppertone says the Tolteca was selling out for Cortez too. They may have been descendants of Toltec. Very, very true. That's why it's important for us to know who we are. Because we don't, again, I'm not saying you need to know who you are to tie into your tribe, but you need to know who you are to know where your place is. I'm talking about in history, and to know why you're facing the things that you're facing today, and why certain people seem to have it in for you. And the reason why I say that, when I say certain people, I mean everybody that either look like you or don't look like you. Because here's the thing: the majority of the world knows who you are. You don't. And then James says, yes, the Toltec adapted the deity Taklak and were also called Taklak-Tek. The Doodle Vision says the Great Harlot was of that group. Exactly. So that's all I'm saying. And no, again, I'm not saying that all Jamaicans are traitors. What I'm saying is Jamaica at that time, when those islands were trying to form a confederation to go against Britain, Jamaica pulled out and got their own independence, and that's the reason why they got so many Chinese living on the island today, because all that debt they in was sold to China. But that's a whole nother story.
And they really didn't get independence. They made a backdoor deal with Britain. because they're not independent. They still give their allegiance and loyalty to the crown.
Well, it's pseudo independence. How about that? We're gonna call it pseudo independence. Make sense? No? Don't make sense? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, just because somebody was the enemy of your people hundreds of years ago does not mean they're the enemy of your people now. But we're finding out as we talk to some of these tribes that have been infiltrated by these sovereign groups that had they been talking to each other, they wouldn't be in the situations they're in now. So now they're starting to team up and have these people removed.
But it goes back to what I was saying before. We have came full circle, right back to that moment, that decision, that choice that changed a lot of our lives. That there was something wrong going on. And instead of the tribes putting together the tribal differences and communicating, business went on as usual, and did you see what happened? We're living it. It's proof that if we don't sit back, get rid of all this BS, sit down and start communicating again with each other, communities to community, that's how we're going to fix the situation. Because when we don't communicate with each other on a community to community level, guess what? We have no idea what's out here that can harm us. We have no idea what's coming that can harm us. Matter of fact, you have no idea what's out here that can benefit you.
Now that part needs to be repeated again along with the other part. Say that part again.
Yeah, that was deep.
That you have to pay attention. You gotta know. It's a must. It's that much of a must. Hold on.
Mm-hmm. And basically what he was saying is that communities need to start speaking to one another. So not only do we know what's hurting us, but we could also know what's benefiting us. As I was talking to...
All right.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Bones.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's all I was saying is that when you communicate, not only does it give you knowledge and information on what can harm you, you also gain knowledge and information on what can benefit you, what can help you. What things, what resources that you have that somebody else has the missing links to. That's why this communication, they didn't break the communication between us for no other reason. No, it's because when we are in contact with each other, tribe to tribe, community to community, that's how we have always built. People always talk about Rosewood, or they talk about Tulsa, Oklahoma. Do y'all really think Tulsa, Oklahoma built that just by dealing with Tulsa, Oklahoma? No, they were getting their supplies from other communities that were the same like them. That's why it was all happening at the same time. They were communicating community to community. This community growing this community growing that, so they doing business amongst each other. Which brings in another community and another community and another community. And that's what we mean by working on that local level, community to community. If you do not, again, if community to community do not conversate, you have no idea what's out here that can hurt you, and you have no idea, again, what's out here that can benefit you. They made us individuals, no longer community-minded or community-driven. We're motivated by a dollar, not our communities.
And it's interesting that Dudu brought up a good point. He said that's why scammers tell you who to talk to and who not to talk to. They want to isolate you. And I'll go even further, because we've been accused of being the police and trying to protect people. First of all, I'm not here to protect grown people, not from scammers. I'm here to protect those that are neutral from me. Because I know how I am. So, if you want to deal with a scammer, that's totally on you. But I'm letting you know what you dealing with when you dealing with me. And why I'm not going to deal with you if you dealing with scammers. That's for your protection. Period, point blank in the discussion. Because we are grown men and women able to make our own decisions. And you could talk to and be around anybody you want to. That's your choice. But I am not going to expose any of my community to scammers. And if that's what you want to do, that's your choice. But I feel that it's imperative that I warn you, so when you come across my threshold, you will already know what to expect. Because to me, that's only fair. No one should be ambushed. So, to be like, well, if I were you, I wouldn't go over there with TMH because he don't deal with scammers. That's all. I mean, that's fair, isn't it? So I'm not telling you who you can talk to and who you can't talk to. What I am trying to emphasize to you, and when I mean you, I mean the general public, I'm not talking about you unless it's you, is if you dealing with scammers, don't come over here, because y'all gonna take something back y'all won't, like jail time. That's all I'm saying. So stay where you're at. So that's all I got to say about that. Because like I said, my community is going to be fine. But I promise you, you come in my community with that scam and stuff, oh yeah. You get max fair time. Because we throwing not the book at you, we throwing the whole library at you. I'm sorry, go ahead, Bones.
Do 8-2 on the corner to them. Give it to them, but they don't want it.
So,
but in all seriousness though, for real, we got to start back communicating. Like minds have to start back communicating with each other. We have to start back working in our communities and take the works from our communities and work with other communities. We have to patch those ties that have been severed.
Exactly. You won't know who your enemy is until you know what they do and what they're doing and how they're acting. And it's kind of hard to know what they're doing and how they're acting if no one is communicating. See, the beautiful thing about talking to people is if you have any level of discernment or critical thinking, you could know right off just asking questions and the answers that you get, whether they scamming or whether they rolling with scammers. It's really not that hard. So it's easy to make those decisions. But you got to know and you have to understand that just because somebody looks like you don't mean they have your best interests at heart. And that's how we always get hemmed up. And some people may be wondering how the, what they call the Negro Wall Streets were communicating. They did have telegraphs back then. Y'all do realize that, right? They were communicating through telegraphs and mail. So they knew what each other were doing. That's why there was only one area that was bombed. So the government had to come up with another mechanism to destroy those areas. Just so you know. And the way that they did that was the Urban Renewal Act. Running the interstates through those communities. Running the interstates through our communities. Splitting our communities up. Queen Copper says you don't have to ask, just listen. That's another way to do it too. So there's more than one way to find out who's scamming who. And my job ain't to tell you who the scammers are. All my job is to tell you what the scams are. And if people are saying certain trigger words, one real big trigger word, and this is something that I've learned just from listening, is when people start talking about jurisdiction. That's a trigger word. So pay attention to that. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Anybody got anything else they want to say before we start back to reading? 'Cause,
I want to share something.
please do. I'm going mute. Go ahead.
Wait, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you loud and
Okay.
clear. Yes, go ahead.
So there was this stand-up comedian. He said something in it was on Netflix, and I'll share with y'all. It's Ronnie Ching, the Asian comedian, and the title of his show was Destroys America. And this comedian was he was talking about the things that he had learned about coming to America. One of the things that he said was that in Chinese, the name for America is Migao, MEI space GUO, which means beautiful country. So, and that's how it translates to English. It means beautiful country, not North America, South America, the United States, but specifically beautiful country. And I thought that was very interesting because what they also call China in how it's said in Chinese is Zhao Gai, which means middle country. And it caught my ear, and I thought it very interesting because Bones has said several times that, you know, countries are not, you got to talk to the people and find out what they call, you know, their country, what they call their area to understand or know what it's called, what the people call their land, if that makes sense. Just something I learned. Wanted to share.
Michael Brown Harris Cheek says only talking about the white chief is assigned to and putting their PayPal in all chats day in every 5 minutes. Well, yeah. You know what? I'm gonna go back to doing what I've been doing. Talking about the scam, and I'm not even gonna address the scammer because everybody know who the scammers are. So I'm just gonna talk about the scam, and everybody can put the action with the actor.
Yeah, my motto is this: you get out whatever you put in. So to me, I'm comfortable. I sleep comfortable, walk through my community comfortable, because I know when it's all said and over, the scammers, the ones that's helping the scammers, the one that's pushing it on, oh yeah, there's a seat for you. It's coming.
Ooh, what does that mean to Mari?
Somebody finna make a name. People need to wake up. Election year right around the corner. Stop being foolish. Somebody finna make a name off of somebody. Watch it.
Well, all I'm gonna say is keep being foolish. Please keep being foolish.
That's interesting.
What, Tamari?
Yeah, because I'm putting it in here and its origin is apparently Japanese.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So while you covering that, I'm gonna get back to reading.
Oh, okay. I'm back to reading. I apologize.
No, you good. You good. It reads, it says, although modern usage often calls the Europeans participants soldiers, The term was never used by these men themselves in any context, something that James Lockhart realized when analyzing 16th century legal records from conquest era Peru. Goes back, I mean, come on, man, this can't tie in more perfectly. So I'm gonna read that again. It says, although modern usage often calls the European participants soldiers, the term was never used by these men themselves in any context. So even the Europeans, or the Francs, because that's what I'm gonna call everybody from over that side of the water. I don't care if you're African or whatever, you're a Franc to me. You wanna categorize me, I'm gonna categorize you. I know that's petty, but petty T is in the building. So the Francs, they're putting their own people in the category. The European participants didn't call themselves soldiers, but they're being classified as soldiers, even though that's not what they call themselves. And James Lockhart said he was analyzing the 16th century legal records from conquest era Peru. So that means he was looking at legal records of Peru and found out that's not what they called themselves. Doodle Vision says, back away from the keyboard, Gabrielle Union. So,
because it puts a hole in a conquest story that they came over here with a bunch of soldiers and just ran over everybody. No. What happened is people started living life. Indians, Europeans, and whoever else came. And eventually people just started creating new distinct cultures. That's the reality. Why else do you make them be soldiers on paper when they're not? To create an illusion. You don't want people to know that people were living amongst each other peacefully. Because that means there was a system before you came and it was working. Huh.
See. So I'm going to go ahead and read the next paragraph under the title, Cortez gains 2 translators. So looking at the title, Cortez gains 2 translators, this means I will make the switch in thought to say that he's going into an area where he needs 2 translators, because the people that were already on his ship, the Arawaks, spoke the language of every place else that he went. So he gains 2 translators. Now, unless this chapter basically talks about him gaining 2 additional translators, these must be 2 translators that do not, or they have a specific set of language skills that no one of these other, 650 men have, 630 men have. So it goes on to read, Cortez spent some time at the island of Cozumel. So we know that's in Mexico, right? On the east coast of the Yucatán, trying to convert the locals to Christianity, something that provided mixed results. Stop right there. I'm gonna highlight this. Doodle Vision says, now you're about to get into the language of those that talk a lot. Here's a question. If you were conquering and you were a soldier and you were conquering people, why would you have to try to convert somebody to a language when you're running them and you're in control of them?
Bingo. Because it didn't go down like that.
Right. You only try to convert somebody if there's a civil discourse and y'all are on equal footing from the standpoint of being colleagues or being peers. See, if I'm working a job and I have my peers sitting next to me and I need them to do something for me, I have to try to convince them to do that thing for me. Whereas if I'm the manager, I tell them to do it, they either do it or get fired. So, looking at this, and it reads, Cortez spent some time on the island of Cozumel of the east coast of Yucatan trying to convert the locals to Christianity. That means he wasn't controlling anything because he had to try to convert them. So, he wasn't running anything on Yucatan. Nothing but his mouth, and he wasn't even doing that successfully. And then it goes on to read, while at Cozumel, Cortez heard reports of other white men living in the Yucatan. I thought Cortez was the first one to get over here.
Nope. We know that ain't true.
So, it says Cortez sent messengers to these reported Spaniards. He made an assumption that they were Spaniards, who turned out to be the survivors of the Spanish shipwreck that had occurred in 1511. Geronimo de Aguilar and Gonzalo Guerrero. Now here's the thing. We heard and we read Iberian romance. E.J. Capitone, you took the words right out of my mouth. Some of these Iberians came here and fell in love with our ancestors. And they said their boats were wrecked, so they didn't want to go back because they were living a better life on this continent than they could on their own land.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why Geronimo and de Aguilar and Gonzalo Guerrero were still alive. Because think about it. If they were supposed to be conquerors, right? And they were able to move freely. I don't know no tribe anywhere where you're gonna try to take me over and everybody else is dead. I'm just gonna let you live as a slave and just do what you want to do amongst me. Nah, partner. We don't play that. So obviously you came on peaceful terms. You were able to assimilate and you were able to work amongst the people. Doodle Vision says they were living that clamorous life.
Adita loca.
So this was 1511 that this ship had reported it crashed. So I'm sure they sent. So my question is, how did Guillermo de Aguilar and Gonzalo Guerrero, how did they get word that their ship had crashed in the 1500s? Anybody know? I'm trying to see when this had happened. Okay, so this is around 15.
Was there an Indian?
Go ahead.
Was there an Indian war going on at this time?
Yeah,
there was a lot of Indian wars.
Yeah, lots of Indian wars. You talking 1500s? Oh, most definitely.
That's what you're saying.
No, they got jammed up not fighting Indians. No, these Iberians got jammed up chasing Huguenots.
Chasing Huguenots and and they ran into some booty.
Yeah, why did I know you pirates? Think about it. They reclassified these people in history as pirates, and pirates keeping what? You better read in between the lines.
Come on, son. Before you end up walking the plank.
So, and as you know, the pirates are who? It's a.
I'm about to say Somalian, but I guess not.
Think about it. What three cultures you really know that had major shipfaring capabilities? It's a Chinese, and the Ottomans, Iberians. Ooh.
So they turned.
Come on, say.
They turned them into the pirates.
No, history turned.
Yeah, history. You go ahead. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, no, you could. History turned the Itza into pirates. That's why you never hear about them. Because you had to
Mixing
explain.
and matching them.
You what you do is you explain there was a bunch of boats interfering with the wars. So you just say they're pirates. A band of vagabonds that really just, go around stealing, raping, and pillaging. But you never really get into their history. So then they come out with the movie or the series of movies Pirates of the Caribbean.
Pirates of the Caribbean, exactly. Who wants to get into the history? In that history, well, a lot of people would want to get in the history, see if their family was involved. But yeah, you're right. They're gonna mix it. It seems like they're mixing.
Remember what history taught us. The Ottomans built a ship a day. I don't think people are actually paying attention to this. They built a ship in a day, and they did this consecutively. Where all them boats go?
365 boats on the year. But I ain't seen no scrap wood.
Oh, boat again.
EJ Coppertone says Cortez sent gold back to Spain. Spain told him on Cuba.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You coming in a little broken. I'm sorry. What you say?
Okay, how about now?
Yeah, you're a lot better now.
It's interesting because on that same movie, that Disney movie, Road to El Dorado, it was this one scene where they talk about they wanted the ship. They told them, well, it'll take us a week to build the ship that you want, and it was this back and forth conversation, and then the people said to him, we'll have it done for you in 3 days. And then the Spanish people were like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, we'll have it done in 3 days. Just made me think about having a boat done a day.
Queen Copper put 1545 Henry VIII Preservation of Woods Act. Yo, Queen Copper, go ahead when you get a chance. Drop that in the chat, and also if you would put that in the form up under your login, please. So, alright. Correction, 1543.
What does that mean? Cortez sent gold back to Spain. Spain told him on Cuba. Like told on him?
Told Cuba that that's probably what he was doing, or told the Indians of Cuba that's what he was doing. That's what I would have to guess. EJ Coppertone, when you get a chance, can you expound on that part? Cortez sent gold back to Spain. Spain told him on Cuba.
And we got to remember the next thing too. We keep calling these people Spaniards, but remember these are just relabeled Iberians.
Lines. Call them what they is when they is.
See, because when you say Spaniard, it paints the picture that they put in our minds through television, movies, and books. But in reality, these are Iberians. These are Berbers.
Yeah, well, that's true, because when I think of Spain, I think of Antonio Banderas.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's the image that we were given. But in reality, at this time, yeah, these are Iberians. People that you would consider Arabs.
Bones. Man,
remember, some of them were considered Moors, and they just happened to convert to Catholicism. Same people.
So basically, if you really want to break it down, the Iberians were nothing more than Moors that didn't convert, or Moors that, or people that would have been called Moors had they converted, had they not converted.
Yeah, if the Moors converted, they became Spaniards. All the Moors that think about it. in the land of Spain. They did not bring no new Spanish people there. They just called the Iberians that was living there Spaniards, the ones that converted and stayed.
That's right, Queen Copper. Columbus was Italian, but at the time they say Columbus sailed under the Italian ship up under the Spanish flag, that couldn't have been possible because according to French history, in the French archives, Italy was still under French's rule up until 1524. And the Iberians didn't gain control of it until after 1524. So there was no way possible, according to the French and Iberian records, that Columbus could have sailed under the Spanish flag.
Yep.
Right, the Moors were leaving Spain in 1491. The Ottoman Empire was looking to transition and have Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand to move into that place of Iberian Peninsula, so they could take over and become the royalty of Hispaniola or Iberian Peninsula. But that took over until 1502. Go ahead.
That didn't finish until 1516. That's what they call the Reconquista of Spain. That's 1516. And that's where they made a deal. See, people keep saying, oh, they beat the Ottomans. No. If they beat the Ottomans, why is Morocco still there? They made a deal with each other.
14 years later. And that's 14 years after Spain created itself, correct?
The Ottoman Empire and Isabella and Fernando, they're part of the same family. They just made a deal with each other. Think about it. They hated these people so much that they let Morocco stay there, right? No, because they made a deal.
So basically, Spain wasn't Spain technically, well, officially, until 24 years after Columbus had reportedly sailed in 1492. So it was longer than 10 years. Doodle Vision says, yes, Cortez sent gold back to Europe. The Indians called it Kunini or Gunini. Those people are the same people. Yeah, they are the same people.
Because you got to think, if Isabella comes from Castile, the people come from Castile live in the Iberian Peninsula. What does Isabella look like? Let's stop playing.
She looks like Iberian. Grand Rising Macadon 1. Glad you was able to catch that cab.
See, they gave us these names, then programmed these pictures up under these names in our head. So when we be mentioning these pet names, it throws you off.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
I mean, didn't we see it happen here?
Yes,
Indians that didn't leave set territory became U.S. citizens. It's the same thing that went down in the Iberian Peninsula. It's the same play being ran over and over again.
Gonna create a seal here and a seal here and run the ball right up the middle. That quote was from Vince Lombardi.
It's just crazy.
Well, technically, Queen Copper, she would have been a Moor had she converted to Islam.
But at the time, think about it. Listen, all we got to do is go back to the history. Before Spain got there, Muslims, Christians, and Jews lived in that same area. So forget her belief. She would look no different than the Berbers of the area. That's what I'm saying. But history, when you say Spanish, it makes you think of some pale person with some long hair when really that's not what the people are looking like. They created pet names and images to hide people behind, y'all. And the reason, and as long as we keep using these pet names, mentally, it keeps putting that false image in our head. Like European. All them people over there are Europeans. Don't let them people fool you.
Grand Rising Ohio player. Grand
and
Rising
you can't even
James.
argue.
I'm sorry.
We got to start arguing saying that they didn't bring no Africans over here slaves. We got to stop that, relatives, because they did. You have to remember, these same people of the Iberian Peninsula, these same people that became Spaniards are the same ones that came over here with their people, but they're from North Africa. So now, what would you consider them people? Africans. See, we got to be careful on how we word particular things, because some things are worded to trap you on purpose. Remember what we realized. The two places back then that was called Africa, TMH, was again what?
Algiers and Tangiers.
So any of these people that was taken from that place and brought over here would be considered what?
African. They're your Berbers from North Africa. Or right across the street from Spain.
All they did was created a category, and they're trying to throw the Indian in that category. Because best believe the category exists. They're going to make sure the category exists now. Whether it's valid or not, that's another story, but they're going to make sure it exists.
Doodle Vision, what's going on?
I was just going to say, Grand Rising to those on the panel. I was experiencing technical difficulties last night and got it figured out. I have a little nugget to send to you all a little bit later. I'm going to say this, and you could put this in air quotes. You could put this in 3-inch headlines. If you're claiming to be a black or more, you are Hispanic.
Hold on, say it again.
If you're claiming to be a black or more, aka more, you are Hispanic. That's why I was saying before, there's a difference between those that call themselves Latinos or Latinas and those that call themselves Hispanic, because you are still paying tribute to the Iberian Peninsula when you're saying your capital is Morocco. That's why I say again, remember when you talked about before, there were people that looked like us that started conquering us and taking over and being slave owners of Indians, and these heavily melanated people that came over first. These are your Moors. So what are you truly claiming? Ask yourself, what are you truly claiming? Because all of that, North Africa, anything that is north of the Sahara Desert was part of Iberia, period. They keep trying to play and say, no, it's all the same. They were all the same people. That is why you see the same structures in Mali, Morocco that you see in Spain. They're the same structures because they were the same people.
Just look at the last names of the territories. You notice everything along that line is area.
Yes, sir. You are Hispanic. You are paying tribute, just like what was put in the chat. You are paying tribute to your fatherland, sending the gold back. Why you think they kept saying, send the treasures back, send the treasures back? And you had those that came over here And don't let the smooth taste fool you. They're going to try to tell you that these words mean that they are Spanish from Spain, and they are not. They are Ladino. Man, I can't wait to get into that. When you talk about Aguilar is eagle. Is a place where the eagles hunt. And Guerrero, I said that before, Guerrero are your warriors. These were the fair-skinned, the pale-skinned warriors that were adopted in by the Indian tribes as they had children by these women and decided to fight the Spaniards. These were the pale-faced people that are or not even white. They were just fairer-skinned that Cortez heard about. Ain't want no crashing no 15. Like I said, boy, they wasn't going back. You read all the stories of the people that came over here. They were burning their ships, lying and saying that they crashed. Go back and read the memoirs of De Soto. His men were crashing ships on purpose because they were living like kings. I yield the mic. I'm sorry.
Dudu, this is a question. Isn't there recorded records of them coming into these children? Of the ones that stayed, the fair-skinned ones? Isn't there recorded records of them?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is why I said this is the every time you keep reading, like they said, these people had no civilization, they had no written language, they had no this, they had no that, but you keep hearing about all of these books and records. You just read earlier about they checking the records in Peru. Somebody's keeping records. They knew who was who. They were, oh man, I don't even want to get into the census, but they were keeping a census. They knew who was who. I gotta go. I yield the mic.
Yeah, someone's selling Letters of Hernando de Soto and Memoir of Hernando de Escalante. Fontenay translated. They're selling this book for $914.
Instead of buying that book for $907, you can start up a nonprofit organization, do it as a genealogy society, and be able to have the rights to access the information from the book without having to pay $907 for it. That's how you saw that solution.
Ooh. You mean like the Mormons did under the auspices of Ancestry.com? What?
Oh yeah, you can do that as a nonprofit. I mean, that $907, yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying though.
I just learned something today.
EJ Coppertone says Diego Velasquez Seller was supposed Cortez superior on original voyage. Cortez committed treason to go to the mainland as Kukulkan. He was wanted for treason until he sent that gold. Half the Iberians were not with Cortez going to the mainland.
Yep, they stayed on the island because again Cortez got with that great harlot and her mother, and this is why he needed these additional translators, because the language, there's a common language and there's a sacred language. The harlot and her mother knew the sacred language because the Tolteca, remember they kept infiltrating and going into Chichen Itza. They were getting copies of the books, they were getting the books, and they knew the language. So he had to learn the language, and like I say, it's things sometimes just don't translate right. But again, from the Mayan language to English, it translates to the men that talk a lot, which means those are your you hear Don. You hear Don a lot. And, you know, people say, I'm the Don Juan. They don't know what that means. That means you are in between a young man and what we would call a wise one, that you know a lot, but you're still learning. So you're talk. They call them talking a lot, or you'll find them. They'll also get them the title of Zapat, Zabotec, but they were using the same names. So this was the language that they had to learn from those that talk a lot. And when they took that language, and Cortez was able, had the translators, and they were telling them about the cultural side, because again, what do? They give you Bibles, they give you books, or whatever their religion is they want you to convert to. They come knocking on your door, being very friendly, and ask you, do you know about Jesus the Christos, and you want to come to my church? I'm just using Christianity as an example. That's what they do. So they start using buzzwords and phrases that only you would know, excuse me, of your sacred language. So now that they know the language of those that talk a lot, because again, you have your common language, you have your in-between language of those that talk a lot, and then you have your sacred language. So those that talk a lot are really, they're bilingual, because there's some things, I'll give you an example. There are some things that those that are in your inner circle know, there are those that associates know, and then there are those on the outer realm, or just the public may know. And you could be with someone that any of your relatives that's in your close circle, and we call them today inside jokes. And they'll say something, and everybody else that doesn't know, if they're just associates or if they're just the main public, they don't know what they're talking about. And everybody in that core group is laughing. So this is like this sacred language. Cortez had to get all the information, and that's how he came as Kukulkan. That's how Kukulkan went from being looking like us to now the paintings look lighter, look white. Kukulkan was never white. If you look at like I say, the original paintings of Kukulkan, he was what you would consider a black man with a beard, with broad nose and thick lips. Come on, son. I yield the mic.
I'm actually
to answer the question in the chat on what the Ottomans ruled, put it like this: the Ottomans are also known as the Empire of Rome.
And those that we know as Romans, or later on known as Italians, were called Ethiopians. Again,
bingo.
When the Ottoman Empire was ruling Egypt, and yes, the Ottoman Empire was ruling Egypt, and they're still ruling Egypt today, you calling them Arabs, that is why they didn't conquer Egypt with the gun, because they already knew they were relatives. They didn't have
lines. Who were they when?
Why do you all think that World War I and World War II ended up going into North Africa and into the desert? Reading World War II about the desert fox. Why would these Italians all up in what we call North Africa? These were the same folk. And I say again, and I know I just waged a war, but it is what it is. If you're calling yourself a Moor and you claiming to be an Indian, then in a nutshell, you are a traitor, because you are still paying tribute to your fatherland. You are Hispanic. And I know Moors don't like that. And when I'm talking about Moors, I'm not talking about Moors that are Moors as far as Muslim as a religion or a culture. I'm talking about those that are trying to claim Morocco. Because I want to put it out there. All those that are Moors are not claiming Morocco. I'm talking about those that are claiming Morocco as your throne. You are paying tribute and homage to your fatherland. That makes you Hispanic, which means you are a little Spaniard. You fall under the Iberian Peninsula rule. Look it up. I yield the mic.
Oh man,
I got a question.
They still paying tribute to the Roman Empire. They still paying taxes to the Roman Empire. Oh man.
So my question is, what about the ones that try to save face and scream descriptive term only?
But when they scream that, what are they still saying though? They still throw Morocco in. They continue to throw, as long as you throwing Morocco in, again, you in suspended animation. Because what makes you any different than an African American?
Right. That's my question. Wouldn't that make them foreign?
There you go. That's my point. And that's why I say again, it's not about race, it's about culture.
It's a descriptive term.
But wait, wouldn't that make them
But it's a descriptive term. But think about it. It's a descriptive term that can be dated to a geographical location, regardless.
Wait. I got another question. Wouldn't that not only just make them foreign, but also mean that all this claiming of this is my land is actually a false statement?
You are no different than the conquistadors, or those claiming to be conquistadors, those that they've written in their books as being these great conquerors. What makes them any different than Cortez? What makes them any different than the British? What makes them any different than the French when they came over? Please tell me what makes them any different. Because when you're coming in, you are a foreigner because you are still paying tribute to Morocco, and you're coming into a land and you're claiming that this is your land. How are you any different than those that are talking manifest destiny? Please tell me how you're any different. Because of the color of your skin? I yield the mic.
And also, too, they mention verbal declarations. So when you are calling yourself a Moor and you are claiming Morocco, you are making a verbal declaration to Morocco. You are saying Morocco is your home or your fatherland. That's who you have allegiance to. Verbally, that's what you're saying. Now, unless you denounce Morocco every time you say you're Moor, that's what you're saying. That's what, put it this way, that's what the government is you saying. I'll put it like that. Because we are on the backbone of the government's internet, just so y'all know.
An Ohio player, roller coaster of love. Say what? Put in the chat. When you understand about the Ekbalim or the Ekbalim, then we can have this. Then we can have this conversation. Because I'm still trying to see these people that are claiming stuff. When I go to the temple and you look at the temple yourself in Bonaparte, all I know is I'm still trying to find these Hispanics that match up with those that are on the walls. And you paying tribute again, it still goes back, and I'm not trying to bash on anybody. It is what it is. Even if you claim it under the term, okay, I'm Moabite. Well, where are the Moabites from? What land? And if you're saying again that the Lord your God told you this is the land you were supposed to be in, you had to defeat the people in the land. So what makes you any different? And now I know I'm gonna get in trouble. What makes you any different than Jews that are claiming Israel and saying you're kicking the Palestinians out? What makes you any different? I yield the mic. I know I'm in trouble today. I gotta go. I yield the mic.
That was a bomb dropper right there. Just want to put that out there. Just, you know.
Man.
Yeah.
So you can't come in banging on the Jews when you set the precedence as an Iberian, aka Spaniard, aka Hispanic. You did the same thing that they're doing. They took a page out of your book. Manifest destiny. Stop putting pale-faced people when you think about manifest destiny. See how they do you with those Jedi mind tricks. You come and you be like, those Europeans. Okay, let's colorize these Europeans. Don't keep classifying them as white. Because under manifest destiny, you came talking about Morocco and that this is your land when there were Indios already on this land. So what makes you any different than anyone else planting their flag, talking about this is our land now? Makes you no different. That's why I said all skin folk ain't kinfolk. close your eyes and listen to the words that they're saying. Because I don't know the difference between jurisdiction and Jurassic Park. Didn't those dinosaurs take their land back? Y'all better really look at that again. You can put up all the electronic fences you want to. I yield the mic.
Michael Harris Brown Cheek says, "How can I read that? Now Bones and Doodle, how can I read this 2 years ago, but a certain individual didn't?" Spot reading for a narrative. That's what people do.
No, that's too much homage to the master teacher. You got to read up on them. Forget the person regurgitating. Who they be shouting out.
It's when the days when you're in college or your kids are in college and they didn't study for the final exam all semester long. They played around, they partied, they stayed up playing Madden, and then the night before they want to study. So you do all that cram reading and spot reading, and you don't pay attention, and you still end up failing the test. Think about it. How you on the mic?
That's punishment, actually, if anybody's ever done that.
You ever notice when you take certification tests, those certification tests are written specifically to discourage spot reading. They're written specifically so you'll study, because they'll place words in there that if you're not paying attention and you didn't read, the answer looks obvious, but you will get the answer wrong if you didn't study.
Mm-hmm.
That's how law is.
Yeah, you just can't read one part of a particular act, a statute, and think you know. It don't work that way.
That's why they have law schools.
And make sure you bring your peoples with you.
Because you have to ask yourself, when did these other people from across the pond, when did it switch from trading to trying to conquer and overthrow? Because we do know they have found Egyptian treasures over here. They found what they call ancient Roman treasures over here. They found treasures from the Ottoman Empire over here. They found treasures and settlements from Asia over here, everywhere else. So when did it switch to all of a sudden, these Iberians, AKA these Spaniards and Portuguese, all you read about is them taking. They're taking from this land and giving it back to their fatherland. Take it. So when did it change? I'm trying to figure out, when did it change? Because even the Vikings left tribute. That's why they had to start having these conversations. When we didn't learn about that in school, about the Vikings coming over here. But they left signs of over here of trading. So when did that? What happened? Again, if you're coming into my home and you're claiming that this is your home, we got a battle on our hands. So if you made your declaration to Morocco, a foreign land, then please explain to me, how can you say this is your land? Go back and read the Barbary Treaty. A treaty is between two different groups of people that tie back to two different land masses. That's how you get a treaty. So how is it that you have the Barbary treaties, which tie you back again to Iberia, tied you back again to the Morocco, same people? So how do you have these treaties between these two different groups of people when it came to traveling between there and what we call the Americas today? I'm trying to figure it out. All I know is if you saying this is your land, this is your home, but you paying tribute to your fatherland. Again, I'm gonna do this. Let me put it out there. The babies can't help. You cannot choose who your mothers and fathers are, but you can choose your friends. I know a lot of y'all that you done heard that from your grannies. You can't help who your parents are. They are who they are. But that's why I say again, it was never about what we call race, this social construct. It was always about culture, which is why, again, Cortez heard about, quote unquote, white people living in the land, already in the mainland. But they had been adopted and had adapted to the culture of the Indians. Why they were calling them Guerrero, why they were calling them Aguilar. Man, I gotta get off the mic. Sorry about that. Y'all go ahead. I'm rambling again. Go ahead. I yield the mic.
Hey, James, I got an Aguilard in my genealogical history timeline. What does that mean? It's last name. It's only a female though.
Yeah, it just means that the eagles hunt.
Oh man.
Yep. No, that's love lift us up where we belong. What is it?
Where the eagles
fly on a mountain high. That's all it is. It's just a place where the eagles hunt. Aguilar is eagle.
We learn something new every day.
What your boy Eminem say? You and Christina Aguilera better switch 2 chairs. That's all it is. Aguilar is nothing. Aguilera is nothing but the feminine version of the eagle, with the eagle soar. If y'all seen the movie, what is that? Made after the video game. What's his name? Where they had the machine and he had to go back in the past.
Oh man.
I'm sorry, what was the name of that movie?
No, I'm trying to think. You said it was a movie made after a video game?
Yeah, it was, man. What was that? Oh man, he was jumping all on the roof and all the rest of that stuff. He went back in time because they were trying to find the apple.
Jumper?
No, not Jumper. It was the dude that played the most recent Magneto in X-Men.
Oh man.
They hooked him up to this machine. And he was like going back in the past and
yeah.
What's the name of that movie? Y'all know what I'm talking about.
Hold on, there's a few movies like that though. Hold on. Because I'm getting confused with the Tom Cruise one.
It's not.
You talking about the one where he ain't had no legs?
And the Jake Gyllenhaal one.
No. This is the one where he grew up to be a criminal because he saw his dad kill his mom, but it was to keep the secret of the apple's eye, and they said it was Christopher Columbus that took it over to the New World. But they were talking about the apple and Adam and Eve, and you had the Christians versus the Moors, and he was a Moor.
What was the name?
It's out the video, Assassin's Creed.
Why didn't I just say that out loud?
Yeah.
I should have just said that out loud.
His name was Aguilar, and that's why the bird kept flying over when he kept seeing stuff. It was Aguilar. It was the eagle that was protected. That's all it means. But they keep going back and say these words go tie back to Spain. But when you keep digging deeper, they're words that came from over here, and they took back over there because they didn't have words for that. They don't. And like I say, a lot of these words that they're claiming to be Spanish words, Hispanic words, Spanish when you're speaking it is Ladino. See, all they doing is stopping and saying, "Oh, this goes back to old Spain." But how did Spaniards get these words? Because again, your Spaniards were hodgepodge of people. They were hodgepodge of your Gauls, which are AKA your Celtics, AKA Galatians that you read in that collection of books called the Bible. So when you're reading the Church of Galatia, you're talking about the Gauls, the Visigoths, your Vikings. So where did they get that language from? So a lot of these words that you see in the Gaelic language, you'll find it started over here. It shows you with the trading. Man, like I said, I'm gonna drop this bomb. I already dropped it. So when you put onto my Patreon account and you send funds to my NoPal, you can watch the video. I yield the mic.
Did he say video? He said video, didn't he?
In the words of T.O., here's a clue. You better get your popcorn ready. Again, dudes that don't talk, agriculture, no horticulture. You don't talk any kind of culture. So keep reading, and you can keep reading, and you can keep reading. But until you know the culture, why do you think again that it was people that lived amongst us, studied our culture? And you're mad now because they culture vote. I'm saying there's a difference between those that actually had to be raised amongst us, because we still looking at color, and those that just come in and be like, hi, how are you? And they always want to come over, and they always want your kids to come over and bake, and they're asking your kids questions, and all of a sudden they're speaking your lingo. What up with that? Nobody's asking any question. They just didn't come watching on top of a hill and jotting down notes and taking pictures. You'll read about these friars and all these priests that came over. What did they do? And these Quakers, they lived amongst us. And they took your culture first and they flipped it and gave it to you. Cortez coming back as Kukulkan. Because they weren't looking at his skin. They're saying, okay, the words that he speak is that of Kukulkan. So it must be, how could this foreigner know the language? Y'all better think about it. I yield the mic.
Ooh, man.
Someone mentioned Tom Murray earlier. Still gonna get back. I'm sorry, go ahead. Gabrielle Union, you were saying something? Uh-oh, did we lose her?
No, I was just...
Go ahead, Gabrielle, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah, we hear you.
I got some stuff going on. No, I was just saying the world is a stage and everything in it. So, like the way James just said it just now, Two Division, just said it just now, it hit me that he literally put on a costume. He studied it. What's it called? Method actors.
Thank you for behaving.
You know,
you're getting out of trouble right now.
Yay!
Appreciate it. My bad, y'all.
I was just thinking about how.
Not you.
Why
does that fit though? I'm sorry.
I'm out of mutiny.
You getting out of mutiny.
Okay.
Well, look, I see TMH has been very quiet.
Because I'm listening. That's why I'm quiet.
My bad. I am too. Let's see. I heard that. I'm on the other end of that too.
I'm gonna go on.
Hey, TMH, could you mute me, please?
Myself. Nope, I'm gonna do it myself.
He muted me.
You said mute you.
Okay, I'll make sure.
You know who?
Go ahead, Gabrielle. Please.
You know those actors and actresses, how if you ever listen to...
Is she lagging or is it me?
Yeah, she lagging a bit.
Oh, I can understand it.
Hear me?
What you on this rise? I know it's Friday, Gabby, but it's not 5 a.m. somewhere or 5 o'clock somewhere.
Okay, can you hear me?
Better. Start from the top, please.
Okay. You know those actors and actresses. If you listen to their interviews and they call themselves method actors, where like say if they have to play a part as a ninja or they got to play a part as a waitress or whatever it is the part that they're playing, they actually
go study it.
They go do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like if they're playing a waitress but they've never been a waitress before, they'll actually get a job as a waitress. Or if they're playing the role of a ninja, they'll study under someone and they'll learn karate. Or a pianist, they'll actually learn how to play the piano or guitar. So it was the way Do Division just said, Cortez. How he came over acting as though he actually had to learn it. So Lama Linche not only told him what to do, so basically he dressed up in costume. You know, it was a whole act, if that makes sense. And that's the thing that I just realized, that it was not only a whole act. That's saying the world's a stage and everything in it. That's basically what came to mind.
Hey, out here with these theaters of war and stuff, you know.
Shakespeare in love.
Say what, James?
I just said Shakespeare in love. That's what you got to realize. He was playing the part, because now you have the people divided. You have the people that are saying, okay, I know this great harlot and her mother and others were excommunicated to the Caribbean islands. And I know we've dealt with this dude before because we sent him packing when we battled him before. But now he's coming back and he's speaking the language of those that talk a lot, and he knows the ancient ways. So now you have the people literally divided, because people saying, wait a minute, we fought this same dude before. We know who he is. Right. And then you have others saying, but he's speaking the sacred language. So and that's what they did. It was divide and conquer. That's why the people were split.
Now, James, when you say
what I gotta do to fight you, what must I do if I'm gonna fight you? What's the most important thing I gotta do first if I'm gonna fight you?
Well, I gotta know how you fight.
I gotta study you. Yep. No fight don't go down. No war doesn't go down without intelligence on studying the other side.
And Brother Bones, you know that when it comes to basketball, what do y'all do? You watch the film and you say, this is their star player. We may not be able to stop them, but what can we do to contain them? We got to learn how to shut them down. You don't just come in and be like, oh, he's dunking all over you, because you never studied it. We like, does he favor his right? Does he favor his left? Does he do a jump stop? Does he like to get the ball in the box and it's box you out? What does he like to do? So that's what they're figuring out. When he was at the islands with the great harlot, whose name I can't mention, and her mother and all the rest of them, they were teaching him the ways. It's like, you don't do this. This is how you carry yourself. Even to the fact of how do you stand? How do you hold your hand? What is your posture? All these things that the Tolteca knew, because they kept going into Chichen Itza. Why you think they go back again? The Itza and the Tutuziu or the Tutushu, why were they adamant about keeping the Toltecs out of the holy place in Chichen Itza? It wasn't just about the physical building. It was about the sacred writings, the sacred language that was in the places. You got to understand something. It's like, don't come in here. That's why I go back again. You tell your company, look, I got a main bathroom. Don't you come into the master bedroom bathroom. What you doing all up in there? Because you got to get out. I yield the mic.
Yep.
Oh, someone, oh man, breaking it down. Wait, let me, I gotta go back because I want to get it. Michael Harris Brown, Cheek and Associates hit the nail on the head. Anybody, I would say that anybody that's telling you not to do genealogy, and they could talk about, oh, do your genealogy, but then they tell you don't do the census.
I heard somebody say the census is not for the Indian.
The census is not for the Indian, lets you know that they don't want you to do your genealogy, which gets back to what I said again. They want to isolate you. What do cults do? They isolate you from your friends and loved ones. Don't do your genealogy so you won't know who you are. It's not about the fact of, oh, you got Europeans in your family. Okay, now what? See, and this is what they do, because now you can claim something with no proof. As Brother Bone say, I'm a vacuum cleaner. I've self-declared as a vacuum cleaner. You can't tell me any differently. Vacuum cleaners don't pay taxes. But all you do is keep snorting up dirt. Come on, son. So you go ahead and you keep thinking that you don't want to do your genealogy. I'm not doing the census, but you supposedly have done your genealogy, and that's the record that shows.
I got a question.
Come on, son. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So, no. So, I'm not going to use the word all. So people in general who do this whole self-proclaimed, I'm this, I'm that, without doing genealogy, without having proof, are just self-proclaimed by imagination?
No, I feel like they take. I'm sorry, James. You can answer that question. Well, I was just going to give my opinion on how I felt. I do not have a technical answer for you, Gabrielle. I feel like people are taking, what is it, the executive, was it an executive order for you to write the self-identify or the right to self-identify? I think they think that's like all they have to do. Like that's it. I can say that I am, and that's what it is.
But okay, so, I'm sorry, go ahead. I got another question. Go ahead.
I got nothing to say after that. James, could you answer that?
I'll go back and I'll quote that great philanthropist, Dave Chappelle. But he said, how would you, if I just walk around and say, I'm Chinese, and I'm going to keep it rated G for the children because they're still out of school. And he said, but you're looking at me in this body. And they say, Dave, you're not Chinese. And then he says, that's how I feel inside. It doesn't matter when you come to Christ.
Lord have mercy.
You can't do that. I'm claiming to be something because that's how I feel inside. But you have you basing it upon nothing. What are you basing it upon? Because now, again, how can I argue with you about how you feel? See, now I'm the dummy for arguing. That's why at the beginning, when you hear Brother Thomas, at the beginning, when every show comes on and the clip is played, it's like, hey, if you want to be African, be the best African you can be. I'm not arguing with you whether you're African. I'm telling you, I know I'm not. You want to be a Moor, be the best Moor you can be. But the problem comes in when you are saying you are a Moor under the auspices of Morocco, not a religion. That's why I said Muslim. They try to lump everybody, and this is what Europeans do. They lump everybody into categories and say you are all the same. I'm talking about those that are claiming to be Moors from Morocco. When you're saying that, and then you're saying this is my land, you are a squatter, you are an invader, you are an intruder, you are a foreigner, and you have no right, and you're operating under the same dogma and same statute that you claiming not to be a part of, which is manifest destiny. You're no different. Show me where they're different. And I want to have that conversation. Matter of fact, I'll do something that I shouldn't even do. I'll come to your platform if you don't mute me, and we can have this discussion. As long as there's no epithets thrown or derogatory remarks, and we can actually have a dialogue, because I don't want to call it a debate, because I can give you all the material and we can actually have a debate, but I know they don't have any material. So we can have a discussion. We can have a healthy dialogue. I'll put that challenge out there to anybody. I yield the mic.
Okay, I got another question.
Oh, Nelly.
Why on the census and all the government forms that you fill out, isn't there a spot for more?
No, but on the census, people don't know this, you can create your own box and write whatever you want to beside the box and check it. That's why I said, and all you're doing is going to be classified under other. They're not going to put more on that in that category, because there are those that know that Moors are nothing but Iberians. That's it.
So I got another question. So is there a such thing as a native or indigenous Moor American? Or Aboriginal Moor American?
On a government form?
Just in general, in history.
No, there are people that I'll give you an example. The Wampanoag call themselves Lenape, or labeled as Moors. They call themselves Lenape Moors. However, their culture is that of Lenape. Because again, you did have people from the Iberian Peninsula and North Africa. And when I mean by North Africa, I'm talking about Northwest Africa. come over here. We know that without a shadow of a doubt. They came over here. So it gets back again, same thing with the Guerreros. Because you look at, you go back again to the Guerreros that we studied under John Horst. There may have been descendants have come over there, and they have the name Guerrero as the warriors. But again, they had children. Your children, 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 your children, 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 your children, children, children. And here's the same thing that Pan-Africans try to do. You don't have any Africans in your family, not one. And as soon as you say, yes, I do, well, you African. How does that work? Again, I'm gonna do this again. That one African that came over here that you have on the log, they didn't come as a slave because they're on the ship's log, and you're gonna find out that they gave them land after they paid off their 7 years, 5 to 7 years of paying for the voyage and lodging and all the rest of that stuff. And they married. Who did they marry? And then who did their children marry? And then who did their children's children marry? So you saying that I have one African descendant out of the thousands of relatives that I have, what sense does that make? You gonna sit up there and tell me I'm African because I got one person on a log that I saw came on a ship? Come on, son, stop the madness. I yield the mic. Uh-oh, did I run everybody off? 10-4? Break it.
I got a question.
Wait, before you ask your question, I'm gonna say this. And then the reversal, because we know there were thousands of Indians that got shipped over to the land that we know as Sierra Leone and Liberia today. So, come on, son. That's all I'm gonna say. I yield the mic. Go ahead. I'm sorry, ask the question.
So the Wampanoag tribe are Moors that were accepted by the natives?
No, stop. They were always Wampanoag. You had Moors that came over. You had Portuguese / Spaniards later on became, but they're all from that area, North Africa. Because again, North Africa, Southwest Europe, all the same. It's all the same group of people. They came over. They were adopted in. And so outsiders started calling them Lenle, Lenape, or Wampanoag Moors, and just gave them that label of all of them were Moors, and they weren't Moors. You had a small group that came, but they were adopted into the culture and had children that still kept the Lenape Wampanoag culture, the Nanticoke culture. So again, it's not about race, it's about culture. So what culture, if you adopt a child, or you gonna say, oh, you adopted, and you can have your natural children, but you adopted a child, you're gonna be like, oh, you were adopted, so you sit at that table. Or you were adopted, I'm not gonna give you any clothes. You go to the bin and find you clothes. Or you go into the dumpster and find you something to eat. Or you sleep outside. No, they are part of that family. I'll give an example. There's a young lady that's going around for a couple of years now. She has a book out that said that she was adopted she was from Seoul, Korea. Look up. Seoul, Korea, she was born. She was adopted and brought over here to the States. And they give the terminology of African American, but you know how that was thrown out.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And she talks about, hey, I was raised in Jackson, Mississippi. And she was a cheerleader. She said, I was known as a Chinese cheerleader, but I like soul food. I like all this stuff. I like what they call black men. Again, she was adopted as a little child. She don't even remember anything about being born in Seoul, South Korea.
If you close your eyes, you think you're talking to one of us. If you just listen to us talk.
And that's why I say again, it's about culture. So how can she go over there and relate to anything over there? She may look like them, but she was adopted in. You see it all the time about being adopted in. We talked about it before, about the European men knew this because our culture knew it was about the mamas, not about the daddies. And we're still the same way. We're the only culture that will slit your throat You can say, oh, well, your daddy's this, and your daddy's a Rolling Stone, and Papa was, but you say something about mama, oh man, because even Tupac said, even though you was a crack fiend, mama, you always was a black queen, mama. What? And he talking about his mama smoking crack, but then on the same song, everybody singing mama. Yeah, you singing all that song about mama. You can't talk, don't you say nothing about my mama. So it was still about the mamas, because it was the mothers that determined if your mother was in that line of being a chief, and she had a child by a European man. It was still that mother, the great mother, the chica, that decided who was going to be the next chief. It's about the mamas. They come and talk about being a patriot. I don't want to get in. I'll get into it. Being a patriot. Being a patriot means about you paying tribute to your father. Who is your father? Where's your fatherland? Do you mock me more? I yield the mic.
Y'all hear the key word? Pay. Now, see, the chat mentioned the one drop rule. But what's sad about that, when you research that, you'll come to find out it was people who look like us who pushed the one drop rule.
A lot of information, a lot of stuff to cover, a lot of stuff to consider. Did you get your question answered, Gabrielle?
Yeah, I got a couple of more questions.
Well, go ahead and ask them.
So, if we're paying, not even if, we pay attention to timelines and we pay attention to who became who over time. We also pay attention to, which still ties back into genealogy, and knowing who you come from. So we pay attention to timelines, pay attention to who was who, and who turned into who, and who was relabeled who or retitled who. At the end of the day, if you're claiming something that is not necessarily you or who or where you come from, aren't you giving up isn't that like giving up your heritage, giving up I'm not sure how to word it.
Turning your back on your lineage.
Right, there you go. But isn't that also turning your back on your people?
Yes, because you can't use the words community and honoring the ancestors in the same breath that you're talking sovereign citizen. You can't. Because you have to denounce who you are. Like you said, literally turning your back on your ancestry, turning your back on your culture, which is your community. Again,
and sovereign is a monarch, y'all. A monarch. Listen to what these people say. A monarch is a king and queen. Sovereign is a monarch. So what are they really saying? Really? I'm a monarch citizen? I'm giving my allegiance to a king and a queen? That's what you're saying? Sorry about that, James.
No, you good, because that's what I was gonna say. You hit it spot on.
I just thought about something. When you all of us watched majority of us watched the movie Coming to America, right? And when the king and queen of Zamunda came, they were treated, and they had diplomatic plates on their car, and they were treated a certain type of way. And if you think and you listen to the information that's being displayed by these people that talk about jurisdiction, that's the type of status they're claiming that these people can have once they file this paperwork. If you think about it. But in order to have that status, you have to be aligned with a country that's not the United States. You have to have your own land outside. You have to have your own territory outside the United States. Because that's the only way you'll be
sovereign. You have to have another sovereign land, another sovereign people recognize you as sovereign.
Meaning another rulership. Another rulership has to recognize you. That's exactly what that means. A sovereign, another monarch must recognize you.
Okay, so let's look at the wordplay. How about when they talk about being a national? It's the same thing. It's no different.
Yeah.
Because I know they'll try to use the terminology, well, you can't be a sovereign citizen. So no, we're not gonna say sovereign citizen. So we say sovereign, well, we're not trying to be sovereign, we're talking about being nationals. It's the same thing. There's no difference. Because what nation are you claiming? What land are you attaching this nation to that's outside of the United States, which renders you outside of the government?
But when you tell the truth, people like to say, oh, you telling people not to try or to be slaves to a system. No, wake up.
And the tactic is they would rather attack character than let's deal with the truth, let's deal with the facts. They won't do that. They'll be like, oh man, they over there, they Cobb and them, they over there doing some shady stuff. Then everybody's like, really? They doing shady stuff? What they doing? Then all of a sudden the chat gets quiet. I see you. But then you beg it again. What king, what monarch begs? Contribute to my PayPal account, my Patreon account. But you royalty. Come on, son. And you go to the UN and you can make speeches, but if you're not sovereign, they be like, yeah, that was a good speech. Next. So you go ahead and keep playing if you want to.
Anybody can go to the UN and give a speech.
Just like going before the United States Congress, anybody can speak before Congress. You can be a foreigner and speak before Congress. Just like I break it down even closer to home. At your local council and commissioner meetings, it says public comments from the public. Anyone can speak. That don't mean they just hear what you're saying. They don't have to listen and take in what you're saying. Think about it. They want you to when they say, again, anybody that's talking off the grid, but they have a YouTube channel, come on, son. That's not off the grid. You have a cell phone, that's not off the grid. Because there's a tracking device in your phone and it stays on whether your phone is off or not. Matter of fact, y'all don't believe me? Hit the Google Maps and it'll show where it says your location. And then you put in the location that you're trying to go to, it starts from exactly where you are, whether you're in a vehicle, whether you're on a bike, whether you're on a train, or whether you are walking. Think about it. But you off the grid. I yield the mic. I gotta go.
Here's my question. Indians have been here indigenous, whatever you want to call them, forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
These individuals that claim nationals or sovereign, where's the history of them being around? So what I mean by that is, there's a history of the American Indian. There's a history of the Native American. There's a history of everybody except for these sovereigns, these nations of people that have all this access. What governing body do they have right now that sets them apart, where they have their own radio station, their own source of power? And I'm not talking about army, I'm talking about electricity. Because if you think about it, this information has been around for a long time, right? Because anytime you're quoting Constitution, right? This just didn't come up today, because they're quoting stuff from the past. Am I correct or am I incorrect?
No, you spot on.
So you're talking all this information, but you don't have your own entity set up yet. You don't have your own development set up yet. If what you're saying is so true and so relevant, why do you not already have your civilization in the United States? Why is it this epiphany that has just happened let's just say over the last 50 years? This epiphany has just happened over the last 50 years. But there is no system, no governance. There is nobody that has a system of success that they could advertise on their own stations with their own networks.
Maybe this got something to do with it. You know, here proof is never a problem. A national is a person who owes permanent allegiance to a state and enjoys the diplomatic protection of that state. A citizen is a person who enjoys the full civil rights and privileges of a membership in the state. Again, claiming national does what? What nation are you giving your allegiance to? Permanent allegiance to? Who? What state is protecting you? Where?
My point is this.
They're going to be a U.S. national or an American national. Come on, man. Woo.
Here's my point and here's my question. If this stuff has been in existence, this information has been in existence, why has no one created an organization or a governance where you already have your own currency, where you already have your own society, where you already have your own plot of land? Because it doesn't take that long to do it. Or am I missing something?
No, you're not missing anything at all. Like I said, me being a movie and television show buff, there's a show that's called Get Saul. I believe that's the name, Get Saul. And he's a hired hand, for lack of a better word. And there's one episode, there's a guy from Texas that wanted to retain Saul's his skills. And he said, I'll pay you $5 million. And Saul was like, shoot, for $5 million? Yeah, I do. He said, you're gonna be on call. So Saul goes out to this ranch, big old, goes out there, and the guy pulls out the briefcase, he pops it open, it's $5 million. But guess what faces are on those denominational bills? The guy that was trying to hire him because he was claiming to be a sovereign citizen. They making a mockery of, look up that episode. They're making a mockery of what these dudes are trying to do. But at least he was smart enough to come up with his own currency. Wasn't worth a wooden nickel, as my grandmother used to say, but he did come up with his own currency. And then with the currency, what is the exchange rate? Because for those of us that have been in foreign lands, when you come in, you have US dollars. And you go and you get an exchange for whatever the rate is in that country. Mexico's pesos, whether it's pounds in Great Britain, whatever the case may be. So then if you're coming up with your own currency, what is the exchange rate of your currency versus any of these nations that you're going to trade with? Think about it. I yield the mic.
Uh-oh.
And Bitcoin is not your currency. Bitcoin is somebody else's currency. So try again.
And Bitcoin fluctuates like the temperature in Texas. One day it could be freezing and ice. The next day it's 80 degrees. So you go ahead and knock yourself out. I said, I know people don't want to have this, not with me, they don't want to have this conversation. So I'm putting it out there because somebody's going to take the clip of what I'm saying. And it won't be any name calling, no under the belt shots. We're going to simply talk documents, truth, facts, and in the words of Brother No Sellout, timelines, man. Timelines. That's all we're going to do. That's all we're going to deal with. Because again, I want to know what the exchange rate is for the currency that you're using. Because if it's not backed, where's your bullion? Where's your gold or silver or copper? Do you have any of that? And again, you off the grid. Because again, as Brother Thomas said before, where's your electricity? Where's your source of power? What have you tapped into? Don't come out there with a generator that you bought from Home Depot, because now you're still tied into the same system. And don't keep letting the smooth taste fool you about, I'm going to say this. Oh man, I'm sorry. It is what it is, because we closing out this year. Again, don't call yourself Indian, especially if you of the Southeast Indian tribes. Because we already talked about the Alabama or the Uli that these other chiefs paid tribute to because they understood. The Alabama or your Oli or your Olmec, which again, when you go to Mesoamerica and going to South America, tell you is the mother civilization. So that tribute is them paying taxes. Uh-oh. So don't come to me talking about you a Southeast Indian. Don't come talking Cherokee to me. Don't come talking Choctaw, Chickasaw, Yamasee. Don't come talking to me about you, Catawba, Suponi. Any of them. Don't come talking to me. If you have not known, and like I say, this was before the European that they were paying tribute, and what they're talking about now of dealing with Cortez, before that, what took place before that? Why do you think Tenochtitlan was established? An artificial island long before Qatar. Y'all better think about it. An artificial island that was created where the rulers resided and the people from the Carib and the people from the mainland paid tribute. That's paying taxes. Because if you grew corn and your currency is corn, if you had cocoa, your contribution was cocoa. If you grew sweet potatoes or yams, it's paying taxes. See, anybody that's telling you not to, and they're cutting you off, you better think about it. Again, you are dishonoring the very ancestors that they claim and that they're paying tribute to. I yield the mic.
You know what's funny? What you just said ties into this. It makes so much sense. It says U.S. citizens are also considered to be U.S. nationals U.S. law defines a national as a person owing permanent allegiance to a state. Since U.S. citizens owe allegiance to the U.S., they are both U.S. citizens and U.S. nationals. However, it's possible to be a U.S. national but not a U.S. citizen. Meaning you are a foreigner pledging permanent allegiance to a state. Again, you are a foreigner pledging permanent allegiance to a state. Tribute.
And that is where you'll find out the majority of our people were a part of the United States military, because being a part of the United States military, and people don't know this, because people from foreign lands can join the United States military and become nationals. The issue that we were having as Indians was we joined the army. They joined the army. They became nationals, but they were not full-fledged citizens. So now they're saying we want citizenship. Stop, and the words they would use is stop making us second-class citizens. We have shown our loyalty to you by putting our lives on the line for you. So when you hear them say second-class citizens, that's what they're referring to. I've been nationalized. Make me a full-fledged citizen. I have paid with my blood, sweat, and tears. That's why you see so many of us, not just in the military, but we're on the front line. That's why you read all this about all these infantry units, all these cavalries, for those 2 weeks that were covered. That's why you start seeing, that's why the Seminoles, that's why they said, okay, you made us who we are. Now, make us full citizens. Your first cowboys, those that were ruling, that got control of the West, these were not European-looking troops. That was us going out west. That's why. So the only people I know that has to pay tribute to a state that's the nationals, if you live in D.C. and if you play for their Major League Baseball team, because they call the Nationals. So other than that, if you're not on that team, knock yourself out. Keep doing what you're doing, because you got to pay tribute to some nation somewhere. And if you're claiming that, if you're saying I'm an Indian, but I'm a Moor, again, you're saying, so where's your tribute going? Are you paying tribute back to Morocco? Because they're not gonna recognize you unless you're paying tribute. That's, again, we saw it in the chat. That's why I got Cortez in trouble. That's why he's like, we off with your head, Cortez, till he sent that gold back. I yield the mic.
Brother James, but don't the Snyder Act starts off by addressing the Indians that fought in the war and giving them full citizenship for what they promised?
Yes, sir. That's why I said the 1924 Snyder Act, and then they hit it again in 1938, and they touched on it again in 1948. Because what happened in 1948, people don't realize this. Because there was one state, and they still upset about it, that didn't want to be a state, but they covered them in 1948, and not this person sitting in the White House, but the one before him was born in this state, because they were dealing with the Indians on those islands called Hawaii. That's why they had to touch on it again in 1948. So the 1924 Snyder Act that they keep wanting to skip and slide over, and that's what still was being used. And contrary to popular belief, because those that don't read it, that's what gets back to the Civil Rights Act of 1968. That's why when they take that clip from Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, when he says, we've been exiled in our own land, saying, give us the same. You made these promises under this Snyder Act. You made these promises under the Indian deal. You made these promises in 1938, 1948. You need to fulfill you're part of the promise. That's all the 1968 Civil Rights Act is going back to those promises
Bingo.
that were made. That's it. I yield the mic.
What was the protest going on about? A lot of our ancestors going off the war fighting and coming back home still being what? Second-class citizens. Go back and look at the protest signs. Pay attention to what people are saying at this time.
Because didn't you post a video, Brother Bones, a couple of days ago about one of the great matriarchs in our history, talking about what was going on in Mississippi and when it came to voting? And so this is why I keep going back and I keep saying it again. You're listening to people that give you, they are playing leapfrog with history and giving you a snippet here and a snippet there, and then they combining it all and making it look good because they put a bow on it. But I don't care if you saute poop. I don't care if you fry poop. I don't care if you bake poop. It's still poop. Think about it.
Did you say fried poop? Ew.
You don't call me doo-doo vision for nothing. I see through your poop. I see what they trying to do.
Got him.
Anybody, again, that's talking sovereign citizenship, like I said the other day, you have no militia, you have no currency, and you have no land, you have no source of energy, of power. What are you going to do? Because again, now, if here's the kicker. You can get solar panels, but again, that's using like Section 3 and using CDBG and all the rest of the stuff we've been talking about. So where are you gonna get your solar panels from? Because you could go off the grid with your solar panels. You really could. But where are you gonna get it from?
No. This is what they're gonna do. They're gonna use these bonds and all these papers and all these other mechanisms to pay for these sources that provided to them using this paper and these tactics and these strategies that they're taught about. That's how they're gonna get it. See, we're stupid. We just don't know any better. So they're gonna be able to use all these strategies and all these mechanisms that they have in place to purchase said items. So they're not going to change anything.
Yeah, what they don't tell you is after they use that stuff, it'll go through it first because it matches numbers, and then when it kicks back, you go into jail for fraud. Because now you got the bank coming at you. You got different government organizations coming at you, and you did it.
You did it. You did it.
So you try.
People out there. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying. So you trying to tell me that those strategies don't work?
Exactly.
Okay.
Think about it. Supposedly, there's an account and routing number that you don't have access to that actually exists, but your name's not on it. So initially, it goes through because it's attached to a routing number and a bank, but it's going to kick back because it's not yours. It's not your cheese. It's someone else's.
Okay. Interesting.
those in the chat, please watch the movie Laundromat with Glenn Close and Antonio Banderas. Please watch that. And exactly what Sister Gabrielle Union just said. And everybody think, oh yeah, because they were doing this for years. Well, I got this dummy account, this offshore account. It's gonna catch up to you.
Please have those people that are telling you this to tell you how they're going to get around the Patriot Act. Please have them tell you that.
Question: you can pay utilities with Bitcoin?
Yes, some utilities you can pay with Bitcoin.
Matter of fact, don't you need utilities to even harvest Bitcoin? I'm just saying.
Yeah, because you have to have some type of
server
device, internet device.
It's a server. It's a very powerful and expensive. It's a very powerful and expensive set of servers. It's not just one. It takes a lot of servers just to generate one Bitcoin. It's not easy.
It ain't easy being greasy.
So you would need some capital just to start up farming for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I still want somebody to explain how you get around the Patriot Act, having all these offshore accounts. Because what's going to happen is, and the government did this on purpose, you start having these offshore accounts and they label you a terrorist, then they can hold you in Guantanamo Bay without a trial. And how long can they hold you in Guantanamo Bay without a trial? Let's just say there's been some people that's been there since the 90s. So keep playing with these offshore accounts if you want to. So, something to think about. I mean, I ain't gotta call your names out. I'm just calling out the actions. You don't have your own internet service. You don't have your own internet backbone. You don't have your own power source. You don't have your own land. The army does not belong to you. I promise you, the army does not belong to you. I'm willing to bet everything you own that the army does not belong to you. So, it's just interesting to me how you're going to be a national or a sovereign when you, I never said we, when you don't own anything. So, interesting. So with that being said, is there anything that people want to bring to the attention before we let these good people get up out of here? Big Hawk says, speaking of, I heard of people building an internet too that's been in the works since the early 2000s. So it's 20 years in the works. Yeah, Queen Copper, there are some states that have laws against living off the grid. You can't collect your rainwater. You can't collect your rainwater in the state of Virginia. So.
But the crazy thing about it is these same people that are claiming to have all this information, why are they begging for other people's money. I just know. Why do you even have a PayPal account? Because that means you have figured everything else out. So with that PayPal account, again, I still get back to, you're having to pay. And even with you having a PayPal account, whether the one that's sending it or receiving it has to pay a fee. A fee is nothing but a tax. If you send $100 through PayPal, you have to send more than $100, or the receiver receives less than $100, because there's a fee that PayPal charges. And out of that fee, again, you look for a fee. A fee is another word for a tax. So come on, son.
Well, there is,
even in the midst of you and your PayPal.
Well, there is.
That's why I said
I
keep receipts.
Look.
When you are an independent contractor, an independent consultant, you better keep your receipts. Because I learned so much about dealing with taxes when I became independent. Not a sovereign, but independent. So knock yourself out. Go right ahead, keep doing what you're doing.
Well, James,
those are legitimate questions, and I'm looking for the answers. I yield the mic.
James, you do realize there is a feature on PayPal that allows you to send money to a family or an associate or a friend. Not in exchange for a service, but more like a donation. The only challenge with that is over time, that's going to be looked at as a donation to a nonprofit. And if you don't have anything to back that up, they're going to hit you up with that too. So just wanted to put that out there.
But here's the kicker: if you're sovereign, you don't have any family. You on your own. Is that another level of fraudulent activity?
I mean, well, if you don't have to pay taxes and that other stuff, I guess no, it wouldn't be fraud, because you're a national, you're sovereign, you are a monarch. So somebody got your back.
Well, in the words of that great thespian, the Jizza, I got your back, but you best to watch your front, because it's the one in the front that be pulling stunts. Kept it rated G for the children.
What you say, Bones? About to say something?
Mm-hmm.
Well, all right, it's about that time, great people, to be up out of here. I'm glad everybody was able to log in and participate in the chat, and we look forward to seeing you on Monday. I don't know if Doodoo Vision or Bones will be dropping any premieres this weekend, but we'll definitely let you know if they do. So yeah, Gabrielle.
I'll be dropping some exclusives.
Okay.
One I'm gonna drop here in about not even 15 minutes. I'm gonna have a special sneak peek preview for those that will have the link, and then I will make sure that it's in every theater from nation to nation on this planet shortly thereafter. I yield the mic.
That's what's up. So you heard it here first. Gabrielle, what you got for the good people before we head on up out of here?
Okay. Well, me and Nosela, we were in the back talking. He shared some things with me that he felt came up in relation to different things that were spoken about and read about and discussed today. So I told him I'd go ahead and share it with everybody.
Shout out to Gabrielle.
Shout out to Nosela. Okay, mistakes. Mistakes are part of the dues one pays. I haven't learned a lesson. Being somebody. I always wondered why somebody doesn't do something about that. Then I realized I was somebody. Yesterday is ashes, tomorrow wood. Only today does the fire burn brightly. Taking action. All you have to do is look straight and see the road. And when you see it, don't sit looking at it. A great wind is blowing, and that gives you either imagination or a headache. And then failures. I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Irritation. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Don't find fault, find remedy. And tomorrow's joke, the crisis of today is the joke of tomorrow. That's that.
All right. Go ahead, no sellout. What you got for the good people?
I mean, she handled that for me. I appreciate you, Gabrielle.
Really, that's you ain't got nothing to say.
Peace to the panel. Peace to the chat. Shout out to Giovanni. Shout out James Flames.
Google Vision says.
CMH. Gabrielle. Comprehendio 757. Carrie Bay. And all the Moors out there. Peace.
So James Doodle Vision says, one sat alone by the highway, begging. His eyes were blind. The light he could not see. Then Jesus came and made the darkness flee. Old Negro spiritual.
So it's not an old African spiritual?
You want me to meet you?
I mean, those 11 people had to have done something other than build all the forts in America.
Okay.
All the live long day.
All the live long day.
So now that you and your backup singer, I put that out there. You got anything else you want to share?
Oh, no, I'm through.
You sure?
It's Friday. Shout out to y'all.
All right. James Flame, Choctaw Jimmy, what you got for us?
I just want to give a shout out to all those that Brother No Sellout had already mentioned. Just remember, Brother No Sellout, it's not only Friday, it's the last Friday of 2019. This is it. In the words of Michael Jackson, and in the words of my main man K-Log, because y'all know who Kenny Loggins, y'all know about Kenny Loggins, y'all know about Footloose, but y'all don't know about This Is It. Ghostwriters, Michael McDonald and Michael Jackson. Listen to that song again. This Is It, Kenny Loggins, 1979.
Oh man,
that is
taking y'all way back. Listen to the beginning of that. Michael Jackson wrote the first verse of that song. Anyway, I want to give a great shout out to those. I put that in the chat about that old Negro spiritual, because those sitting on the highway, better known as an interstate, but we know it in terms of the internet. They just sitting alone because they sovereign on the internet, begging for PayPal and Patreon and AdSense. Get those lights up. Jesus came and made the darkness flee because you were blind. You're blinded by the fact of who you are because you're watching that garbage. Public Enemy. Oh man, again, I just want to know who got their tail feather slapped off. Is everybody still here, right? Anybody, everybody good on the panel? Everybody good in the chat? Nobody got their tail feather slapped off? Okay. All right. I'm just checking to make sure everybody's okay. You know, let me go out and, you know, I still got some of my grandmothers and great-grandmothers, their turbans with the ostrich feathers in there. So if there are any brothers out there that need some of those, you know, I'll happily donate it to your cause. So when you go live in your full garb and your makeup. Oh man, and shout out to Matt Damon. Shout out to Matt Damon. Oh man, I got Matt Damon. Shout out to Matt Damon. You know who you are, man. I want to drop an exclusive with Matt Damon this weekend. Some of you have already seen, you know, the you know, in certain theaters, you know how they test it out, do the market, see if it's okay. Oh man, and shout out to Snyder from One Day at a Time. In case y'all don't know about that Snyder act, he was the super on One Day at a Time. Y'all know about Good Times, but y'all know about that One Day at a Time. Check out Snyder. Oh man, and also again, shout out. Oh man, I gotta say this because it's coming soon, but we'll get a chance to do it again. Shout out to Baby New Year and his big ears, and shout out to the one that turned around and he think he know what he talking about, but he don't know what he talking about. And shout out. This is my last shout out. Shout out to the greatest rapper of all time. Thailand. Remember again, don't trust the great harlot. If you're a Moor, you're Hispanic. So shout out to all the, oh man, I was gonna say, shout out to all the Hispanics out there. This is for La Raza. Shout out to all the Hispanics out there. And with that, I yield. Oh man, where's David Corey? Where you at, man? Mm-hmm. Shout out to David Corey. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to Mr. TJ Hooker. He's out there. He just came in later. Shout out to everybody else that I already talked to in the chat. And I don't know where Oak Cliff, Tiff, where you at? You hanging out, Oak Cliff? Where you at? You hanging out you at Keys Park? I'm headed to Keys Park later on this evening. With that, I'm off this cotton picking mic.
I'm gonna let the smoke from that mic die down. I'm not touching it right now. So I got a spare. Looking at the mic, smoking. I always be prepared.
Smoking in the background.
Stay ready. You ain't never gotta get ready. Shout out to the silent majority that's doing the work in the background and taking this information and helping your community. Because that's what this is about. Shout out to the new subscribers both on the website and on Cab Grand Rising YouTube channel. Y'all make sure y'all utilize this information that's in these forums, man. Don't take it for granted. Bones is investigating to see whether or not that movie that James brought up can be put on Ain't. So I don't know if he did that or not. But you said the name of the movie, James, was Laundromat?
Yes, sir, Laundromat.
So yeah, if we can, Bones will put it up there. But if it's not up there, it's because we weren't able to do it for, you know, legal reasons, copyright reasons, things of that nature. So, shout out to the greatest chat on Earth, on the planet. Shout out to the panel. Appreciate y'all. Look forward to doing some more work with y'all today, tomorrow, to infinity and beyond. And with that, I'm going to relinquish the mic to Bones H. McCoy, and I am on mute. AT mute now.
Appreciate that, TMH. No Sellout, Gabby, Doodoo Vision, Copper Indio, LJ Free, Carrie Bay, the active chat, and the solid majority. I mean, relatives, if you think about it, we have came a long way, but still have so much farther to go. And on this Friday, which is the last Friday of this calendar year, we're ending it the same way how we spent this whole year, being consistent on our stance, on our message, and where we're trying to go. And let's go into next year remembering we have to get more in touch with our communities. We have to start back communicating again with our elders, among ourselves, and our youth. That we got to take advantage of the time that we are together to leave something for the next generations. That what's the sense in us gaining all this information, learning all these programs, if we're not back in our communities, having these conversations to where it can make real change. Now, we know we spent a lot of time this year dealing with the runaround, the the distractions, but they have all been identified. And we know who they are. So moving forward into next year, let's make sure that we don't allow this stuff to continue on. Let's make sure as we move forward that the things that we used to partake in that are no good for us, that we leave behind. That we make sure as we move forward that we're moving forward with the intentions, the know-how, and the will to fix our situations, to bring our communities back together, and to make sure for 7 generations moving forward that they will never forget again. So on that note, continue to be blissful. Continue the hard work that you do in your communities. Continue the conversations with your family, with your neighbors. Learn as much about yourself and your history as you can, because no one can tell your story better than you. Until we link up again, remember we love you. And from our Tonkiness Assembly, peace.
Shout out to Jermaine Stewart, the real king of pop.
Peace,
y'all.
everybody.
99.
Shout out to Chocolate Rain.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all just don't act right. Just can't let it ride. Just gotta just be doing stuff.
Hey, TMH, get with it or get lost.
Everybody doing that.
What was that? No sellout.
Nothing. I don't want to be muted.
He said, "Get with it or get lost." That was funny. Guado.
What you say, Gabby?
As soon as you come off mute, they gonna mute you, Gabby.
I said, the double cousin said, "Get with it or get lost."
He probably muted you when you responded to Gabby.
I think he did.
Watch your mic.
I think he did.
All right, baby, it's a boy. He playing whack-a-mole with the music, with the mute button.
Issa say you suck.
See if he can catch you, Gabby. Gabby, run.
Look, y'all do realize I can just put y'all in another room.
He can master mute us.
No, Sellout killing me. It's like he talking in Morse code.
I tried. Try to send a message to my people.
Alright, it's time to go. Why are you sending me a chat? Oh, that was doo-doo. All right, doo-doo.
Like go-go?
No, we going on mute. We gonna ride out with the commercial. So.
Oh man, we still hot.
Yeah, we still hot.
Hot like.
Shout out to Barnaby Jones. Shout out to Columbo, and shout out to my main man Kojak. Who loves you, baby? Italian OJ Beretta. Are you on the mic?
All these people know exactly who they are.
That's what's funny.
Warning, warning, warning. Hard hats, pickaxe, shovels, boots required.